Pardon.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, buddy,
Welcome,
how you
everybody.
doing?
Mickey Plummer. Hello, Mickey Plummer.
Hello, Mr. Big G. How the devil are you? Evening, Carl.
Quite
and Ray.
well.
Evening, Jim.
Hi all.
I don't know which way we're doing this.
Yeah, I guess if everybody could just mute themselves when you come in, it can too much chatter going on, if that's all right.
Sorry, Carl, I apologise. It's normally muted as soon as I come in, mate. Sorry.
No worries. Hey, you know what? You know the score. It's a pub where we're fairly informal.
Yeah. So, good news in Scotland. The corona's disappearing fairly quickly, which is good. We're in good shape.
Yeah.
The islands have done very well because we're isolated. Virtually no cases at all, which is fantastic. And if you think about Ireland, the corona has no chance. You've got 10 distilleries pumping out fumes into the air. There's not a bloody chance of a corona there, that's for sure. Octomore would sort any coronavirus, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
A large glass of Octomore will do it.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Jim, me and Lorraine have just stayed in a bunker that happens to be our basement bar because we're surrounded in probably most of it is probably around cask, 60% or so. So we've got.
Yeah, you've got a bunker. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. Good evening, Lee Irvin. How are you, Mr. Irvin? How are you?
I am fine. Thank you very much for asking, Jim.
Good to see you, mate. Thanks for coming in to join us.
Not a problem at all.
How's the weather with you?
It's been very nice today.
It's been fabulous.
It's been lovely.
So, Jim, we've got actually people from a variety of countries. I don't know if you want to just type in the chat box and maybe give us an idea of where you're all there dialing in from. Because I know a few of you guys, well, I know a lot of you guys, and I know that you're coming in from all over the place. So, Jim, you'll be pleased to know that I know you really love the sort of learning side of things, the education side of things. Well, you're teaching the world tonight.
What did you say? Keep it what? Keep it what tonight?
Oh, you're going to be teaching the world tonight.
Oh, right. Okay, right. Los Angeles, Berkshire. Yeah, good evening, Berkshire. Thanks for joining us, Tony. Yeah, fantastic. You think people have better things to do on a Saturday night than sit and drink whiskey, wouldn't you? You would think.
For some, it's not even Saturday night.
Well, that's true.
It's Saturday morning for me.
Yeah. Am I having a chat with you later, Greg?
Are we? No, I think you mean like a private chat? Maybe.
No.
No, I think what we're going to do today, Jim, I was just talking to Carl about this. Since we're going to do a tasting, we're going to interweave some questions with the tasting, if that's all right with you.
Well, thanks for telling me in advance. That's really good.
We've got it all well organized, Jim, as usual.
So I know that Bruce has put together a heck of a tasting set, and I also know it's blind. And so I'm not going to lie. I saw the list, but I don't have it memorized. So I'm kind of going in blind with everybody else. But I mean, look at the color on that whiskey. That's whiskey. This looks like Coca-Cola, but that's whiskey. That's something else.
I wasn't aware that it was a blind tasting.
Oh, yes, it's blind. You were given the details, though, because you insisted when you said you wanted to know exactly what it was.
Well, exactly. I mean, imagine a blind tasting, you don't know what it is. I mean, nobody learns from that. So somebody's got to know to answer the question. I mean, if you could identify these whiskies without any help, you would be a bloody German Shepherd.
I think the way we're going to do it, Jim, is obviously just taste each whiskey one at a time, and after we've tasted the first whiskey, you do your tasting notes, and then we tell everyone what it is.
Yeah,
I'm quite disappointed.
So on.
Right, I'm quite disappointed with tasting them one at a time. I thought you put the 6 in the one glass.
Brooke Laddie do that, don't they? They do the Tamale project. They mix it all together, don't they?
Yeah, that's a cracker. We're tasting them one at a time. Oh, that's that belter, that one.
Oh, come on, Jim. It's the night is but young. You can't start having a go at me already.
Is that your wee boy beside you?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
What's his
laughing at
name?
me too.
What's his name?
Peter,
Hi, Peter. How are you doing?
say hello. Hello, Jim. Wave
Give
to
us a
Jim.
wave.
Come on.
Hey, Pete. How are you doing? Are you having a
Lovely.
little Coca-Cola? Oh
Nice.
my goodness, you're a handsome
He's on the
boy.
hard stuff. He's on the hard
All
stuff.
right.
This is
Is that-
milk with more in it, yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
I guess if I could just jump in for a second, I don't know if the plan that we had, Jim, was that we do kind of like intermingle the tasting with a bit of a Q&A around the film and with Greg and yourself. And so everybody's welcome to ask us questions. If you want to put it in the chat box or if you want to raise your hand, it's nice to have you ask questions if you'd like to. We can unmute you or you can unmute yourself and join in. Obviously, we're going to try and sort of make sure that people don't talk over themselves and stuff. So if you can kind of give us an indication if you'd like to ask Jim or Greg or you know, like have an opinion on the film and stuff. Hopefully all of you have seen the film. And I have to say for Lorraine and I, we found it just an emotional roller coaster. It was, in fact, I think I talked to Charlie over in Norway today, and I think she said she shed some tears. And I have to say, Jim and Greg, if that was your intent, to make it very emotional and to have grown men in tears, you succeeded. All right, I'm just saying.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you very much. That's good. It's good to know what the reaction is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We decided very early on that we didn't want to make a film that was about like how to make whiskey or how whiskey's made. We wanted to make a film about the people who make whiskey, and so that's, you know, we really tried to bring the human side of it, the emotional side of it, front and center. So it's really nice to hear. It's always great to hear.
did you? So
Sorry, go ahead.
was the original intention? Was the original intention, Greg and Jim, actually make something that was genuinely emotional, rather, you know, like so that was what you'd originally set out to do. It wasn't about, did you want to try and appeal to a broader audience, or did you have whiskey and us whiskey nerds and stuff, for want of a better way of putting it, you know, was that your intended kind of market, if you like, or did you want to kind of appeal?
Well, I'll go first, Greg, because for me it was, I found it extremely emotional, and I think Greg would agree with that. At certain points there was tears in my eyes when I'm recalling the people and the places and all that sort of stuff. So going way back, and I've been in this game now, this is 58 years I've been making whiskey, which is quite incredible. I'm still sitting here, but 58 years is a long time to remember, but I've got such great memories right back to my first day when I started at 15 years of age. So the movie was, you know, the team got it absolutely right. They understood where I was coming from and what whiskey meant to Ireland, indeed Scotland. So I'm really, really pleased that you guys enjoyed it. It is emotional. It really is emotional. I remember when I went to the launch in Glasgow and I was sitting beside Barbara and I was crying like a baby. And so were a lot of people around about me. We got the emotion. So well done to the team. Great job, you know.
Do you think ultimately the film is kind of a bit of a life story for yourself in some respects, Jim? I mean, I know obviously you are kind of center stage, but you've got a lot more fight in you, I'm guessing. But you know, like, do you view that as kind of almost kind of like your career kind of summed up, or because I'm guessing that you've got a lot more in you?
No, I haven't got a lot more in me. At my age, I'm thinking, no, enough is enough, you know. It's been a great journey, but it's been a love story. I've never ever regretted a day in the business. Every day was, whiskey is such a great door opener. I mean, going around the world 1,000 times, and when you say you come from Scotland and you make whiskey, it's a calling card, and it's just been, I've been extremely, extremely fortunate. But you only get out what you put in. So it takes a lot of effort, to try and educate people in Taiwan or in Korea or whatever, But I think the honesty, Scotland has a great reputation globally thanks to whiskey. Whiskey's been our banner, and as soon as you mention you come from Scotland and you make whiskey, that's the greatest door opener you can have, and people talk all day about whiskey. So it's been fantastic, really fantastic, and the movies did a great job. So yeah.
Brilliant. By the way, I don't know if anybody else is doing the same, but I was having a little bit of a starter dram to kind of just start my palate off, so that hopefully we get to appreciate these amazing stunners that we're going to be sampling tonight as well. So I don't know if you want to have you can either start with the first dram and have a nose of it and start enjoying it, or if you want to kind of have a little bit of a precursor to the tasting. But at the same time, do you have any questions? Dive in. But I did have one quick question while anybody else is kind of thinking about their questions. And this is kind of one for both Greg and for Jim. I guess I was going to ask who came up with the idea in the first place. I'm guessing was it you, Greg, that you approached Jim, or how did the film actually start and come about?
Yeah, it was. We approached Jim. I always use this story as a sort of an example of everyone knowing everyone on Isla. When we set out to make a film on whiskey, I had no idea how I was going to get a hold of Jim. I had no way of getting in touch with Jim. And one of our producers is a nurse, and she went to nursing school in Glasgow with a woman who was from Isla. So she just wrote to her, and by the end of the day, I had Jim's email and phone number. We approached Jim, and we also, I think when we first set out, we were going to tell a story that was a bit more spread throughout the whiskey industry, and it still is to some degree. But I mean, we quickly discovered, just even before we shot the film, but especially while we were shooting the film, that there was this, Jim's story was great. The Bruichladdich story was great. Not just the whiskey was great, but the story itself was really interesting, and the two just went hand in hand. And, Jim was very, very generous with his time and availability to us, so it just was a great fit. So the film, I think a lot of documentaries, and this certainly is true for us, it kind of evolved as we were making it. And then I sort of had to stalk Jim around the world. We followed him to Australia. We followed him to Germany, but it was really readily apparent right away that it was the story we wanted to tell. And I knew a lot of it beforehand, but I didn't know all of it, and so it was a discovery for me as we went.
Did Jim, oh, sorry, go on. Sorry,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if Jim, did you have to think about it when he asked you?
Not really. During my time in the business, I've done quite a few stuff to camera, so I'm used to it, because being a global brand ambassador, you're quite used to a camera in your face. Not that I'm any good at anything, it's just that I happen to be the guy there, And it seemed like a very, very good opportunity to, as in Scotland, we all support the whiskey industry. You'll never hear an Islander say bad words about a Speyside or a Lowland. It's a small nation. We're very, very blessed to have been given this gift, this spirit. And any opportunity I got to promote Scotland primarily and the whiskey industry, that I would take it, regardless of what it was. I would take it, So, yeah.
So I'm gonna throw in a little bit of a controversial question here to Greg in particular. Was Jim a pain in the ass to work with?
Sorry, you're breaking up. Sorry, bad connection. No, Jim was. This is no bullshit. Jim was incredibly generous, not just with his time, but with his home. With just letting us have access to everything we needed. To getting photographs, to finding the right people, to everything. It was a lot of the people who are in the film that aren't part of the Bricklottie story in the film. A lot of those people made themselves available to us. And this, I don't mean this to cast aspersions on them. Not far from it. They were generous, but they gave us 2 hours, 4 hours. You know, we followed Jim around around Isla and then around the world for weeks. So,
was this because he was handing you whiskey all the time?
Well, that didn't hurt.
That's absolutely true, Carl. It was like a herd of camel coming behind me.
You know, the one thing that's a funny story is we spent a day, half a day shooting at Springbank, and they tried to give us a sample of some whiskey, but we were in the bottling hall at the time, and so rather than pull it out of a cask, he put a glass under, I don't know what the machine is called that fills the bottles. He put a glass under, and he put it under and out as fast as he could, because it comes out really quickly, and it instantly filled a Glencairn to the very, very brim. This is like 8 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Oh, you guys have to try this." He had just told us a 10-minute story about this whiskey and how proud he was of this whiskey. And then he gives us this gigantic, 57% ABV glass. And, we had just finished having breakfast. So
Greg, it almost sounds like you were complaining there.
I'm not, I wasn't complaining. It was a good
can you
problem to have.
imagine the put
Uh-oh.
that waffle like glass out of it?
Well, I'm glad I didn't get it.
Absolutely.
So we've had a great question come in, and apologies if I missed any questions before it, but Graham Fraser, would you like to just unmute yourself? It's much better if you ask the question directly rather than me asking Jim. Where are you? Graham? Where are you? I've lost you. Graham, go on, go for it. If you can.
I think his connection is pretty bad.
All right, okay. Well, Graham, if you like, I'll ask you a question. I think it's a great one.
Yeah, sure.
Go on. You're a bit broken up, Graham. Is it okay, Graham? I'll ask you a question because I think it's a great question. Is that all right? So Jim, Graham's asked, he said it's a little bit of a cheat. Greg's film compared to the earlier Whiskey, a Golden Dram film that heavily featured yourself?
Well, I don't think it's a competition to say that one's better than the other. The fact of the matter is they're both excellent films, and the education element is huge in there, you understand? So anybody that's got positive things to say about whiskey, and particularly single malt whiskey, I'm quite happy to participate. I would not judge another one who's taken time and spent money to make a movie about whiskey and talk down about it or put one against the other. But completely different characters have made them, and therefore the movies are completely different as well. So there's no such thing as bad publicity, and these are great. I mean, people love these whiskey films, like the ones we're talking about. Absolutely fabulous, No, we can't get enough of that, because it's a whole, I mean, you think people around the world know about whiskey. Yeah, they do, but in terms of single malt, it's a huge job to be done, educating about the different regions, the different casks, why somebody still is different from other. It's a huge job still to be done. There's parts of the world we haven't even touched yet, Imagine getting into China. And I've been to China, and they haven't a clue, you know what I mean? And that's not their fault. It's just because it's so hard getting into China because of all the restrictions and all that. So we've only touched a fraction of the potential audience that is out there. So if there's 2 movies, that's 2 more opportunities, So yeah, it's all positive.
I love both films, I have to say, and just like you, I did find there was areas where there was some commonality in some of the in particular your story. Yeah, I mean, I adored both, I have to say. I mean, just because I'd watched the previous one there, about a month or 2 before it did not detract from watching Water for Life at all. It was just a whole different way of looking at things. So I think that was a great thing that Greg and the team managed to do, in my opinion. I know, Charlie, you wanted to just say something. It wasn't necessarily a question, but so before I introduce you to Bruce to maybe kick off for the tasting. Hi, Bruce. don't worry, it's not that scary. You look scared there for a second. But Charlie, did you want to just say something there?
Yes, as you mentioned earlier, Colin, I watched the movie today and I teared up several times during the movie. Not only because when I saw the interaction and the tastings and everything whiskey, it reminded me of the time before Corona, and I miss it a lot. But also how the love for the whiskey and the industry shone through. It really, really touched me. And being a person who, one of my biggest dreams is to get into the industry and work in the industry, I found the movie incredibly inspiring.
Good. Good.
So thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Fantastic. Lovely story. Yeah, well done.
Cheers, Charlie.
You know, before we do the tasting, can I say something quick, Carl, about the people asking about the golden dram? You know, it's interesting. Our producer Trevor had an idea very early on when we were aware of the existence of that movie, and Trevor took me aside and said, "I don't want you to watch that movie," because he said, "We're not done with our story yet, and I want you to tell your story, and I don't want you to be influenced by another story. I don't want you to think, oh, we need this, or we shouldn't do this, or this has already been said." So to this minute, I have never seen it. And, you know, so I agree with Jim. I think the more people, the merrier. Want to make movies, want to talk about whiskey. I think that's a great conversation to have. But I think it's really a testament to how powerful Jim's story is, that the stories may overlap, but I've never even seen it. I'm not influenced by it. At some point I will watch it. I just, you know, it was just, we really wanted to keep me sort of in a bubble creatively. And I think it was a really smart idea of Trevor. Most of our team has seen it, and I've instructed them not to talk to me about it.
Just before we go, Glenn, I'd just like to get a wee punt in here. I have finished my autobiography. I've written the book, and it's called A Journeyman's Journey. And it was picked up by a German company of printers, and it's available. The book is a coffee table book, beautiful paper, beautiful bindings and all that sort of stuff. So it's now on sale in Germany. And the last report I heard was we moved in the ranking list. We had moved. This story has moved ahead of the Queen. It's just a book in the Queen. So I think I'm sitting at number 9 or number 10, best book in Germany right now.
So Jim, are you now royalty?
No, I'm quite chuffed all the same, because I'm a big fan of the royal family. I love the royal family, but he said, "You are," in the typical German way, they said, "Jim, you are now ahead of the Queen." I thought, "Oh, you dancer, get in there." So look out for that. Look out for the book in English. It's coming out shortly. It's called A Journeyman's Journey, and it's the story of my life, really. And there's sadness, and there's tears, there's laughter, and there's stuff. It's just very emotional. I found it very, very emotional. Yeah. So do you want to start tasting?
So Bruce, we have a mighty sort of a powerhouse of an independent bottler of Dram Fool. Bruce is a hero in terms of some of the stuff that he's produced. And Bruce very kindly supported this whole thing as soon as I got in touch with him, is the enthusiasm and everything to actually pull together what I can only say is perhaps one of my most expensive tastings I've ever paid for, I can tell you. but some fantastic drams in amongst this. So I'm really pleased to say hi to Bruce. And for Bruce, I don't know if you want to kind of give a little bit of an insight into the whiskies that we are blind tasting tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction, Carl. So it's a great pleasure to be involved in the tasting. I've done a few tastings with NEWAS, all very knowledgeable guys. I think most of you know who I am. I'm Bruce. I am Dram Fool. I've been working closely with Colin Fraser, who's on the call, in recent years, and we've been very fortunate to not only have worked with Greg and Trevor on the Water of Life film. Obviously we weren't in the movie, but we helped them with tasting kits for the launch of their film. But we've been working to carry on with the royalty theme. We have been working with Whiskey Royalty for the last year. Very, very fortunate to have been working with Jim. We purchased Jim's casks and we bottled them. The first release quite recently, which sold out on our website in 6 minutes. So they were expensive, as Carl's alluded to. So that's maybe giving you a wee clue about tonight's tasting, but they sold out very quickly. So Colin and I have, it's been a great pleasure working with Jim. We've learned a lot from him, and you know, it's been a real experience working with you're probably my whiskey hero. There aren't many people you can call a whiskey hero, but certainly Jim is one of them. He's right up there with the real masters of whiskey production. So I'll hand you over to Jim. Jim's going to take you through the tasting. The tasting is blind, but obviously as we go along, we will reveal the dram that you're drinking. All the whiskies that we're drinking tonight are from distilleries that are featured in the movie. So that was the whole point of setting up the drams like this. For different drams from the ones that were used for the original Water of Life kits that were released earlier in the year. So I'll pass you over to Jim.
Thanks very much. The fact that it's a blind tasting is that nobody has any idea what the whiskies are.
Oh, well, obviously you, me, Colin,
But
and
none
Carl
of the-
know,
None of the
but-
participants.
but
Not
the
even me.
participants don't know.
Not even me.
That's brilliant. Okay, I'm looking forward to. Okay, for all you guys who have signed in for the tasting, what you could do to help me, and just for the fun of it, is if you could score the whiskey. I don't need all your comments, but if you just score it out of, I would say score it out of 100, score the whiskey out of 100, and you're basing that upon the aroma and the flavour and the colour and all that sort of stuff. It would be good for me to find out what it's like for so many people to, you know, and see which one you like best and all that sort of stuff. When you're judging professionally, like I've been doing for years, we always do it blind. And it's a real shocker when you're doing it blind. You think you know your whiskey until you do a blind tasting. And then it really, really becomes difficult because your mind is going everywhere. So I'm looking forward. And there's a couple of tricky ones in this set. So I'm not just saying that we're, it's all Ireland, or it's all Scotland, or it's all Ireland, or whatever. There's a wee mixture in there, which is very, very interesting. And for anybody that gets the 6 right, you can spend at least a week in Ireland with my compliments.
Does that include me?
I've got a job for you.
Okay, are you ready, guys, for the first whiskey?
Let's go.
We can
Yes.
go. Okay, I'll tell you, you're going to try and tell me what this whiskey is, okay? Well, first of all, the whiskey is from a bourbon cask. The strength is 50%. I don't know whether you know that, but it is 50%. The colour I described as primrose yellow, which comes from a bourbon cask. That light colour clearly indicates it's a bourbon cask. I can't tell you what the age is at all.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry, just to interrupt for a second, just to let you know, yes, we're all on dram number 1 for those that have got the tasting sets. So if you in the tubes that Bruce has provided, it's dram number 1. Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
Jim, just making sure that everybody knows.
So the colour I described as primrose yellow. It's 50%. It's from a bourbon cask. I've never tasted this whiskey before. So that's a kind of clue to you how rare this whiskey is, how valuable it is. You know, I've never tasted this, and I've tasted thousands of whiskey, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's a bourbon cask, 50%. I really, really enjoyed it. So have a little nose at it. Well, for a start, there's no peat smoke, so it's not one of the islands, that's for sure. The colour's a little clue there. That lovely golden colour is going to tell you that's a bourbon cask, okay? It's not a wine cask or a sherry cask, it's a bourbon cask. The first thing you do when you're looking at a whiskey like this is the aroma. And the first thing you're looking for in the aroma, is there anything about the aroma that I don't like? Is there anything coming out of that glass that I'm not very fond of? And this is beautiful. The nose is absolutely superb. It's a young whiskey, that's for sure. There's no age statement on it, so it's young. I would maybe put it 7 or 8 years, somewhere in that region. So it's young and it's fresh. And on the aromas, I said the fragrant nose is keenly malty with well-defined flavors of EX bourbon cask, giving a drift of spiciness and toasted oak. As you know, bourbon casks are heavily charred inside. It's fantastic. It caramelizes the wood sugar. With a dash of water, it really shines, and notes of the caramelized oak sugars rise beautifully in harmony with a fresh fruit overture of apple and lemon, coated with vanilla and malt extract. It's superb. The oak is not dominating. You get all these beautiful flavors coming through because of that. It's young, fresh, and super clean on the palate. It's well distilled, and the crispness of the barley is not being dominated. And at this young age, in the bourbon cask, it's well set up for a long journey. Shouldn't make that long journey. I also found, as I was coming out of it, there's a lot of floral notes in there, like riverbank flowers, marigold, primrose, lily, and that brings a freshness that's impressive. And ends what has been a pleasant and enjoyable experience. It's a pre-dinner dram for me, one to relax with when the working day is over. If you can find this one, I can't give you many more clues than that. But I'll tell you, it's not Scotch. There's a big clue for you. It's not.
You're giving a lot away there, Jim.
No, there's a lot of distilleries other than Scotland. Any thoughts on it, anybody?
We've got lots of comments coming through on the chat bar here, Jim. Someone suggesting Tasmanian. Someone suggesting it reminds them of Glencadam, but not saying it is. So,
well, the fact that it's not Scottish kind of rules that one out. Armenian,
exactly.
It could be Armenian. It could be. What do you think?
There is the hint.
I'm going to go Irish. I think it's Waterford. I think it's from your mate. I think it's from your mate Mark.
You are absolutely 100% right. It's Waterford, Bannow Island from County Wexford. That is amazing. Who said that? Who gave that answer?
Dave Ogden got it right, as well as a few others in the chat bar.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, guys. A bottle to show there?
Yeah, so that's the bottle there, Jim. Waterford Distillery. It's Bannow Island. And what I forgot about this, Jim. There's a code on the back, and they've got a thing called terroir, which you know all about. So Mark Renier is big on this. So I've just keyed in the code into their website, and it tells you exactly about this whiskey. So the barley was harvested on the 7th of September 2015. It was distilled in week 25 of 2016. It was matured for, wait for it, 3 years, 10 months and 22 days. And there were 9,000 bottles produced, and it was bottled in July 2020. And it comes from the Bannow Island farm, and the grower there is a guy called Ed Harper. And I would just like to say, this is the third Waterford I've tasted, and this is by far and away the best one, because the other two I tasted weren't that impressive, to say the least. And I think some of you guys have been on the tastings that we've used them, but I agree with Jim. I saw Jim's tasting notes and I was worried, because the previous two tasting notes, previous two Waterfords I tasted weren't great, but I agree with Jim on this. I think that's a really nice whiskey.
I think the minute you said, Jim, that you reckoned this was like potentially like a 6-7 year old, I knew what it was from prior, because of obviously Bruce had sort of let me know, and I have tried the 1.1 there, Bannow Island, and I loved it, and I agree. I think it actually tastes way beyond its years. I think, you
Well,
know,
that's that's down to the quality of the cask. It's obviously a first fill cask and not a second or third fill. That's how you're getting that extra maturity in it. Because I thought it was older than that. That's incredible, fantastic dram. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah,
What do
so
you
well
think
done.
of the
Well done to
transparency?
you. Sorry.
Sorry, Jim. What do you think of the transparency part of the Waterford are beginning to, or you know, not beginning, but they are playing this big role in terms of wanting to really be as absolutely transparent about the makeup of their whiskey, you know, even down to the individual farm that it's produced, you know, and when harvested and so on.
Well, as you know, we did that at Brifladdie about 10 years ago, and we introduced the farmers, and the consumer loves it. You know, they really, really do. They want transparency. They don't want bullshit and artificial colouring. That's the last thing they want. You know? And it's all about education as well. So how can you educate a consumer when you're filling it full of artificial colouring? So well done to Waterford. Superb dram. Guys, I would love to try this at 10 years. It's going to be, or even at 5 years, it's going to be really, really good. Superb. I've been judging whiskey all my life, and I would say at this age, it's outstanding. I would give it a gold medal at this age. It's that good.
Well, I believe the Gaia 1.1 is one to watch out for as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely superb. And
what's everyone thinking? I don't know if anybody wants to sort of dive in with their view on the first whiskey, or you can use the chat box to kind of give us your view. We usually do, for those that have taken part in NEWAS tastings before, we usually do the kind of thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few thumbs up tonight for all of these whiskeys.
Yeah, for sure. It's outstanding. Can you imagine what this is going to be like? You know, at 10 years, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, the child is born and it's starting to walk now. It'll soon be running and it's going to run. It's a beautiful, beautiful dram. So well done to Waterford, Bannow Island, County Wexford. I've never been there, but I must go someday. Are you quite happy with the tasting notes? Did I read you the tasting note complete there?
Yes.
I hope I've summed it up quite well. It really is. It's so Christmas with the barley.
So we've had our first.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say we've had our first sort of ratings from some of the people. So Charlie rated at 82, Tim Mackenzie rated at 85. I don't know. Obviously, lob in your views on it. That'd be great. Sorry, Jim. You'll have to forgive me for jumping in.
No, it's great. It's got a great future, that's for sure. It's well distilled. The quality of the cask is there, so it bodes well for the future. So fantastic. Really, really good. I absolutely loved it.
Does anybody want to dive in and give their opinion on it? If you just show your hand and we can unmute you, and you can unmute yourself and just give us your view on it. Anybody want to step up and dive in? Or am I going to pick on somebody?
Alan.
Go on, Alan.
That's,
yeah, I've given it an 89, which is a bit mean, I think. It's so smooth, or I can't believe it's so young. It's so smooth, and the fruit coming out of it is amazing. So I just thought it was an excellent starter.
Yeah, I agree with you, my friend. I said my taste notes. I'll just read them again, just in case. So I'm with you. What was your name, by the way?
Alan Mitchell.
Callum. Hi, Callum. What I got was, I said the fragrant nose is keenly malted with well-defined flavours of the ex-bourbon cask, giving a drift of spiciness and toasted oak. With a dash of water, it really shines, and notes of the caramelised oak sugars rise beautifully in harmony with the fresh fruit overture of apple and lemon, coated with vanilla extract. So I'm agreeing with you, Alan, on the fruity notes. It's absolutely superb. And they are coming from slow distillation. They've got nothing at all to do with the cask. It's the quality of distillation. So well done, Alan. You've spotted that. Good job, mate.
Oh, go on, Barry. Oh, you haven't got your audio.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, we got you.
I can hear you, Jim. No problem.
So any
Go on,
other
Barry.
comments on the Wexford Bannow Island? Any other comments? Bruce, what do you think?
Barry was just going to dive in there, Jim. What did you want to say, Barry? Oh, your audio's still gone. No, sorry. Okay, did anybody else want to have? Oh, go on, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice kind of balance. Often kind of with young whiskey, you just get that kind of imbalance between the kind of when the oak starts coming in, but the new make spirit, and it just kind of doesn't sit right. But this one just kind of really flows and kind of is just, as you said, kind of in harmony together, those two aspects. It's not got that kind of jar kind of that you get from some other young whiskies.
Well, that particular whiskey, it's been well distilled. That's the whole secret. You know, they've got the middle cut absolutely perfect. There's no carryover from fuselages from the heads or the tails. They've got the middle cut perfectly, and it's on its way. There's nothing holding it back. Absolutely superb. So whoever did the middle cut got it right. Absolutely bang on. It's like when you're a heart surgeon, you got to get it right, because if you don't get the middle cut right, you're going to destroy what could be an amazing whiskey. So that's critical. And you've picked up on that. And I would say these guys have done a great job. Can
I ask a question? It's Ashley here. Drinking that, I wouldn't have known it was an Irish whiskey. Do we know if Waterford are triple distilling or double distilling? Because are they just sort of making it more like sort of like a Highland Scotch than they are going for a traditional Irish whiskey?
I don't know. I would say it's a double distillation.
Yeah. I believe it's double. It's a double distillation, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in? It's a double distillation. It's basically Irish whiskey made like Scotch whiskey in every way. That's why they don't use the E in the name.
Guys, can I jump in there? Scotch whiskey can be double distilled and triple distilled. Irish whiskey traditionally was just as much double distilled as it was triple distilled. Bushmills were making double distilled whiskey in the 80s. So the idea that Irish whiskey is triple distilled is a myth. Unfortunately, that's due to our own marketing over the last 20 years. But we'd just like to put that out there now, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. No, brilliant.
Well, thanks, Brendan. I was aware of that because I've judged all sorts of competitions, and I knew that not all Irish was not triple distilled. And this is a classic example of a double distillation. Why do you have to distill it 3 times when it's that good at 2? You know, that's a beautiful dram. You're wasting bloody fuel. Just put it out, you know, and let the people enjoy it a bit more. So I'm with you all the way on that one. Well done, Brendan.
Yes, Barry. I don't know if you're I think you're still trying to, and your audio's still buggered. Sorry, mate. No, it's still not. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I think on the whole, there was some great 80s to late 80s in terms of the ratings. I mean, that's a great starter, and it's you know. Could it continue to improve as we go? I have a suspicion that Bruce might have that in mind. So shall we crack on with, I mean, does anybody have any more questions about the film or any other comments about Waterford, or do you want to crack on to the next dram?
Come on, Carl, we're here to drink whiskey.
Okay.
I know what number 2 is.
What was the
next dram?
Sorry, Dave, did you have a question to ask there?
Yeah, sorry, it's for Greg and the crew, really. What was the one thing that you took from the filming that you didn't expect?
Oh, you know,
I can answer that. Free alcohol.
That's why they did it. They did expect that, Jim.
That is true. That's absolutely true. And it's not that I didn't expect it. I just hadn't factored it into my thinking. But you know, I'll say the one thing that we didn't expect was how different distilleries were from each other. Like how the culture in them, the attitude, the public face of them, how different they can be from one place to another. And some distilleries, and I'll say right out, I won't say anything negative about anyone, but I will say that Bruichladdich was they basically were like, yeah, go, whatever you want to do, go ahead, no worries. They were incredibly welcoming to us and made it easy to do things like, Alphonse, who's here with us today, our one producer, he's also our drone pilot. I mean, they let him fly. Some of the distilleries let him fly the drone in the warehouses, over the floor maltings. I mean, it was the welcome, the bonhomie of it all was amazing, absolutely amazing. Some places were not quite so, not so much so, but some of them were just absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
Great question. Thanks, Dave. Actually, I think somebody raised a hand. Was it Paul? Did you raise a hand? Do you want to dive in before everybody starts beating everybody up because they need more whiskey?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think it was just to ask a question based on the Waterford dram there. Jim, would you ever think about, would you dabble in, maybe coming over and helping out some of the, the kind of new distilleries over here? Is that something at some point in your career you might think about, a change from Scotch to Irish?
I've been involved in a number of distilleries. I was down in Australia, did a beautiful malt distillery down there, made some gin, fantastic gin with plants from the rainforest and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I've been helping a lot of people, and most guys get it right. It's just the key thing is the speed of distillation and finding that middle cut, you understand? And then once you've got that, and then the spirit is the child and the cask is the mother. If you make a brilliant spirit and put it in a cask or something, you wasted all that time. You understand the quality of the cask. The cask is the mother and the child, and the spirit is the child. So the cask is really, really so important for a flavor profile. Most people can distill. Every time you boil a kettle, you're distilling, So that's not too difficult. It's the quality of the cask and the journey ahead that is really, really critical. And finding the middle cut, you understand? And that's really quite easy as well. You've done it a few times. Yeah, I'm quite happy to help anyone. There's no problem there.
Thank you.
So shall we dive into number 2?
Yeah.
To say before Jim takes this one on, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, Jim's in charge.
Okay. Well, Jim, what do you think? What are you going to say on this one?
Well, I'm not allowed to reveal the distillery name. Is that right?
Ideally, yes. It's a blind.
So I'm not allowed to mention the distillery, no?
No.
No. Well, that's fine. Okay, well, here's what I found on aromas and the flavors. And that's not going to give you any help at all, but it might add to your enjoyment, okay? First of all, it's an Oloroso cask. Have a look at the colour. You can see that clearly. It's a cracking Oloroso cask. It's absolutely superb. The strength at 60.3, which is strong. So this guy, taste it with some water, and depending upon the heat in your palate, add water accordingly. There's nothing worse than another 4 whiskies to go. There's nothing worse than drinking something at 60.3. Taste it, and then by tasting it, you will know how much water to add. The water is critical. It opens it up and gives you the aroma. So this is what I got. I said, coming from an Oloroso cask that has been filled with malt whiskey for the first time. Look at that colour. It's a first fill. It's absolutely stunning. The colour is brilliant. It's a beautiful deep amber colour, superb colour. The aromas and flavours. This is what I got on the Glenallachie 2007, 12 years old. It's a leisurely lingering, very sexy nose of spice, nectarine, lanolin, tannin, and cream, all supported by that unmistakable and unique foundation of an Oloroso puncheon or an Oloroso butt. It should be an Oloroso butt, not a puncheon, I don't think, but we'll see. It's a sherry cask anyway. Generally speaking, butts are for sherry and puncheons are for port in a classification. If you didn't know that, butts are sherry and puncheons are port. So, and I suspect, you can maybe tell me, you guys, was this an Oloroso puncheon or was it a port pipe? Was it a puncheon for the port or was it a sherry butt? Do you know?
It must be sherry, Jim.
Yeah.
Has to be
Yeah,
sherry.
I would say it's sherry. It's not strong enough. It's not as deep as a port would be. Yeah. So and normally when you're talking about sherry, you don't talk about puncheons, you talk about butts. Is that quite clear? Just so you don't make the same mistake again. Anyway, I suspect there's a, given the depth of the red fruit aromas and flavors, I thought were absolutely superb. Together with the sweetness of the malt extract, and it brings balance with its crispy, toasted digestive biscuit flavor. It's really malty. It's fantastic. And all the red fruit is coming through. And Glenallachie, as you know, is a space cider. What did I say about that? The mellowness of the oak adds balance and character to the space cider, who you will seldom find in the company of such a strong oak overture. At this age and strength, it's in amazing shape. Don't let the colour fool you into thinking this is easy drinking. This is a strong, virile, young space cider. And
What's the age of the whiskey?
Sorry? 12 years.
What's the age? 12 years.
Yeah. And on the palate, the malted barley is king, as it should be. Absolutely superb. At 60.3, it's going to need some water. I just love the colour. I just love everything about it. The viscosity was just absolutely, I'm doing a little trick. If you've got a glass with a stem, right? You've got a glass with a stem. You want to look at the viscosity of it. This is just a thing I use for judging. I take the glass in my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I rest the glass on my finger beside the thumb there. Rest the top of the glass on the top of your finger. Don't put your finger at the bottom because it'll get covered in whiskey. You understand? Just hold it there and then turn it around like I'm doing. Can you see me doing this? I'm turning that around. So what I'm doing inside the glass, this is important to you in blind competitions. I want to see the viscosity. I'm turning it around, so I've put it inside the glass, the natural oil, and then hold it up and look at the speed at which the teardrops are falling, and look how close they are together. Can you do that? Now, they're quite close together and they're moving fairly quickly, which tells you it's a fairly young whiskey, and this one is 12 years old. But that's a great trick in a blind competition. Finger, with the glass resting on the finger, turn it around. The glasses are super clean. You want to get the oil right around the glass. And this is where you get the body from. It's absolutely fantastic. This is a Glenallachie 2007. It's 12 years old. It's 60.3. The colour coming from an Oloroso cask is absolutely brilliant. It's a lustrous, deep amber. No artificial required. Have a little nose at it. Nose it first without water, taste it without water, and then what you find without the water, then you add the water accordingly. But it is 60.3. So don't be afraid to add water, but taste and nose it first. Some people don't like water at all, but I do. Raindrops and roses. When rain falls on roses, the air is filled with the bouquet of the flower. It's the same with whiskey. It needs water, particularly at this strength.
It is absolute. I'm drooling even just on the nose of this thing. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. If you're very, very good, you can separate it because it's non-chill filtered. This is a little one for the future. If you just drizzle the water down the inside of the glass, you can separate. The oil will come to the surface. Do you understand? The natural oil from the malted barley will come to the surface. And that's a great sign. It just tells you see the oil moving in the glass. It's absolutely fantastic. A great dram. Great choice, guys. Absolutely superb. Glenallachie 2007, 12 years old, 60.3.
So, guys, this is the bottle in here, and this has been bottled by our friends at Inverurie Whiskey Shop, and this is a bottle here. And I've got a wee bit left because I've used this in another tasting. And I bought a bottle of it with a view of using it in a previous tasting, and when I tasted it, I thought it was so good I thought we could include it in this lineup because obviously Glenallachie is one of the distilleries that's featured in the movie. So it does actually say on the label that the cask type is an Oloroso puncheon. So I'm wondering, having Jim's knowledge, he's told us that puncheons are port cask. I'm wondering if it was a port puncheon and they've shaved the inside of it out, recharred it, and it's been treated with port, because there are treated casks out there. Treated with sherry.
With Oloroso, yeah.
With Oloroso. So maybe that's why it's a puncheon, because as Jim says, puncheons are usually for port. So maybe it's been repurposed. I don't know, but it's a big outturn. There were 715 bottles from this cask, and it was bottled in May 2020 at 12 years old. And believe it or not, they still actually have bottles for this for sale at Inverary. It's £95, which I think.
Don't tell him.
Is brilliant. So Mike, it's a good plug for Mike Stewart, because he's helped us out with some whiskies for tasting. It's a great shop. He's got some really interesting whiskies, and I think that's a belter. And I'm absolutely astonished that there are still bottles left in his shop, because I thought it would have been sold out really quickly.
I'm absolutely certain that, as I say, 60.3, it's 12 years old. It's in great condition, 60.3, and I'm looking at it, and to me, while it says it's an Oloroso puncheon, it's an Oloroso, but I don't think that's a port cask at all. It says Oloroso puncheon. So just a wee typo there for people who, it's all about education. Oloroso's butts and ports and punches, totally different shape of cask. A port puncheon is like a cigar holder. It's a long, thin shape, and the staves are very, very narrow. That's how they get in a very tight circle. I used to be a cooper, and I used to repair these casks, and I hated working with puncheons. The wood broke so easily. Anyway, a fantastic dram. Well done, Glenallachie and Billy Walker. Good job. I hope you like that one. Any comments on it?
We're getting some tasting ratings in, and I think this is rating slightly higher on average than the first one. I have to say, for me, this was definitely a little bit of a step up from the Waterford. As much as I love the Waterford, this is just. I do love my sherry bomb, my peat monsters, and this is definitely a sherry bomb.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the quality is just as good. It's just a different cask, and there's more fruit coming off the second cask. But there's people who like the American bourbon style. I particularly like it as well, because it's it's hard to get sherry cask. How many bottles of sherry do you sell in a week in your shop? Zero.
Yeah.
None. Nobody is drinking sherry, which is a great shame. Okay, now your next one is it's one of my.
I love a sherry on occasion, I must admit. I buy sherry.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
I love it after dinner.
Yeah.
Jim, we actually had some Pedro Jimenez sherry last night, so we're trying to revive the sherry industry, and it was a very nice little.
That was one of the highlights of my life. I put Oloroso. Sorry, I put Octomore into such a cask. So you had a heavy Octomore, and this the port. It was like, oh, this is too dangerous for words. It's like dancing with Tina Turner, and your wife's gone on holiday for a fortnight. It was just amazing. It's never going to happen, but I have a dream. I have a dream.
I think Graham is doing very well with water. I've added some water, and I think it's done a good job with the water really well.
Yeah. Well, professional guys, we always add water. In all these international competitions and that, you need the water. I said earlier, it's raindrops and roses. The water helps to release the bouquet. It thins the oil and allows it to breathe. I never drink single malt without water, and I never put ice near single malt. That's just the worst thing you can do, because ice kills aroma stone dead. So you've just ruined a good thing. Ice is for cocktails and people who drink them. Okay, pick up the next one. It's a 13-year-old.
Yes, let's go for it.
61.8, it was in a red wine cask from Bordeaux. I can't tell you the wine producer because we're not allowed to do that. So I'm going to sit back and let you have a look at it. It's one that I made, and I'll like your comments on one of my own. Colour is stunning. I think the colour, I described it as a kind of amber, a deep, deep amber. It's really, really good. Strength 61.8. So tell me what you think of one that I made. You can judge me.
While they're thinking, Jim, I'll just tell you the scores for the Waterford and the Glenallachie. I've been keeping an average here, very, very close. So the Waterford averaged about 85 points out of 100.
Wow.
The Glenallachie averaged 87 points out of 100. So
yeah, but when you think how young the Waterford is and the Glenallachie is 2007, that's a great result for Waterford.
Absolutely.
That's a phenomenal result for Waterford, really, at that age, you know. They're both very good, and there's different bourbon casks and the wine cask. Good. Well, I think this one takes the scores up a little bit higher because I made it, and if you want to be my friend forever, give it a high score. I would appreciate that. It's 13-year-old, 61.8. Just beautiful, beautiful. Bordeaux wine cask. Remember that little trick I showed you with the glass with the stem? If you've got a stem, Henry, you got a stem glass? Right. Rest the glass on top of your finger. Not in the, I'm watching you, Barry. Put your finger that's beside your thumb, okay? The finger beside the thumb, and just rest the glass on it. Rest your finger, put the glass on top of your finger. You're underneath the glass and you're outside it. That's no bloody good.
Jim, can you lift your glass because I can't see what you're doing?
Right. Glass.
Glass.
Finger goes into glass. Insert finger into glass. Tilt glass back. Turn the spirit round. Just keep one finger straight and just turn the whiskey round at that. Good man. You're almost there. You're a rock star. Now, if you take the glass away and hold it up.
What is the finger doing here? What's the job? Why are we sticking your finger in it?
Because I'm telling you to do it. And I'm an expert, so you do what you're told, you understand? What do you think you're going to do with your finger? It's to give you a perfect circle inside the glass, and then you can look at the speed of the teardrops falling. You got it?
Oh, dear.
You got it?
Usually what I used to do, and I feel the shame that I used to do, I would just give it a swivel.
No, that's too big. Anybody can do that. It's just
Barry, I'm going to save your life, right? I'm going to save your life because Jim's going to come and hunt you down. Okay.
Okay. You've paid the money. If you want to put 3 fingers into the glass, I don't give a shit. You know, it doesn't really matter. Whatever works for you, mate, just keep buying.
You tell him, Jim.
I'm here to learn.
Flatty 2007, 61.8. It's an absolute belter. The color is just this beautiful, deep, deep Mexican sunset. Oh, it's that fantastic redness that's in it. It's almost pomegranate red. It's absolutely superb. This is what I got on it. I said 61.8. I said it opens beautifully on a combination of plump, ripe grapes, sweet oak, and hot mashed malt, with an overture of rowan, birch, and heather. The heather is in bloom, right? The fruitiness with the oak is well balanced, and you will also detect a squeeze of honey and lemon. That citrus note comes from Islay, and a slight nuttiness from the oak. I find this to be one of the most intriguing malts I have ever evaluated.
Tali, התוצאה ברוכלדי, 61.8.
Hang on, Barry, I'm just going to mute you. Sorry.
I said its taste spectrum is amazingly broad-ranging, from fruity to floral to wine to citrus to kiln-dried barley and the oaky overtures. It's complex. This is a phenomenal whiskey. The colour is absolutely beautiful, proving that the quality of the wine grapes which we were the first occupants of the cask, add their presence, providing a magical highlight that is very rare for a terrific mid-palate experience. You'll get it in mid-palate. The finish is harmonious and lingers long, like a good friend whose company is enjoyed. And that is a true reflection of the team who made this spirit in a distillery that could so easily have been lost forever. Bruichladdich, absolutely fantastic. That's as good. And we were getting the best wine cask because the directors at Bruichladdich were wine merchants, Mark Rainey and Simon Coughlin. So I was getting the best red wine cask in the world. And I think this is absolutely phenomenal. It'll take a bit of water, but please enjoy it without the water first.
How old is it?
Sorry?
What's the age?
2007.
Okay, so what is
It's
it?
sold in 2007.
13.
So you're 13 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, so Jim, as you were going, Jim, as you were going back through the film, Jim, as you were going back through with the film crew, obviously there's a lot of memories I'm sure it brought up. What would you say is, as you look back, kind of one of your proudest memories?
Without doubt, my most favourite memory is when I went to Bruichladdich in 2001. It was a total bomb site. The windows were smashed. The plant was in a terrible state. The mash tun wouldn't work. There was birds flying everywhere. And I remember walking through the distillery, and everywhere I went, it was just so sad. There was ghosts everywhere. There was an ambience. There was a feeling about this distillery. This distillery did not deserve to die, just because the people who owned it hadn't a clue about whiskey. They would never shut it in the first place. Look at Bruichladdich now. And walking through the distillery, just myself, and it was a kind of scary moment. There's a lot of ghosts in there. A lot of jobs had been lost and all that sort of stuff. And it was one of the great moments. And I thought, if I sweep the floor, that's an improvement, day one. If I just do something simple like that. And it was fantastic. And we got the whiskey going, and I started to make Pochala, and people said, well, you can't do that. You can only make one style. I said, really? And then I made Octomore, and they said, you can only make one. So we changed whiskey forever. Bruichladdich changed whiskey forever because we're getting the best wine cask. We knew the value of casks. Mark and Simon were superb at finding the best wine casks in Bordeaux. And this is a classic Bruichladdich. This is as good as I ever tasted of Bruichladdich. I made it, the cask was supplied, beautiful red wine cask. That's just in its prime, absolutely sensational. It's 12 years old. I would like your thoughts on it.
So, Colin, I think you showed the bottle, and obviously the cat is out of the bag.
All right.
I don't know if you can just kind of highlight that screen that Colin has got.
So there was a few very good guesses in the chat bar already, Jim. They knew you made it. They knew Bruce put the kits together. They put one and one together and got release 1.1. So there we have it. 13 years old, as you say. That colour is all natural, absolutely all natural. And that was my favourite of the first three that we released of your stock, Jim. I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and also it was full term. It was full term in the wine cask. It wasn't transferred from a bourbon. It spent its whole life in that wine cask. And you would have thought at that age that the wine would have dominated, but it didn't. There's a harmony there between the sweetness of the malt and the beautiful sweetness of the fruit. It's an incredible dram. I hope you all like it.
Well, the points that are coming through, the scores out of 100, I haven't done the average yet, but so far it's definitely winning. And as someone said, it's not just because you told them to mark it high. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Bruce is just showing the, that's
all
the
right.
bottle.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Bruce. Okay, now the next one, I think I'm correct in saying is Glasgow Distillery, peated. Is that what you've all got?
Oh, you told him. You've told him.
Oh, sorry, it's a postmaster, right? We can guess the next two, okay? Right, so have a go at that one. Tell me what you think. There's no age statement on it, and the strength is 46. So tell me what you find. Glasgow Distillery. And it's a wine cask. You can clearly see that. 46%. It might have been better leaving it at cask strength, but we'll see what you find. Take a few moments. And just for a bit of fun, just compare it against the wine cask of Bruichladdich, which is 2007. It's a non-peated whiskey. Any comments on it at all? On the Glasgow Distillery, any
They're all
comments?
spinning their glasses and looking thoughtful here, Jim.
It's got a kind of, it's got a really peculiar kind of nose to it. I don't know if anybody else is getting, but it's, I've never actually nosed anything quite like that before. Jim, did you find the nose quite peculiar or in any way? Or
I think it's yeah, it's a peated whiskey. The peat is very, very light. You understand? Normally, the peat we used to is much, much higher than that. But it's young. It really is. I don't know. It could be 5 years old or something like that. So you've just come off a much, much older whiskey onto this one. And it's a big, big difference in age. So you're going to find a difference right away. I quite liked it, actually. The wine cask has helped it. There's a little bit of smoke in there as well. It's peated. This is what I got. I said it's a balanced combination of oak smoke and sweet, crispy cereal. And there's a real good hint of red fruits. Obviously, oak, smoke, and cereal and red fruits. It's young and vibrant and full of character. The smoky influence does not dominate at all. It works beautifully with the freshness that excites the taste buds. It's a nice wee dram. The texture for this age is super smooth, which is a credit to the distiller. Don't forget the guy who's distilling, who has not forced the speed of distillation. That's the whole speed of distillation, you know. The wine cask has done a remarkable job in helping this youngster make it. The taste is fresh, vibrant, and I get lots of pomegranate, red grapes, and cranberry, which brings character and freshness and works well with the phenolic framework. Remember, you've got the peat and then you've got this red fruit. It's a most enjoyable young spirit from a young distillery that has a very bright future. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's not.
I think this is a really, really nice dram, and I'm enjoying the smokiness that's coming out from this, together with the red fruits, and I think it's really enjoyable.
Good. Well, you're more or less agreeing with me. That's exactly what I said, you know.
The smokiness is great because, first of all, it's about time we got some smoke in our glass this evening. But but I'm enjoying it, and if I compare it to our to the Waterfall, which was also young, it's a complete different story. But it's you know, I was trying to say when we had the Waterfall, I found it to be very good, but a bit harsh in the initial palate. When it met my palate initially, it's a bit harsh, and which indicates it of its age, obviously. But I think this one is somehow more pleasant and easy drinking.
Cheers, Barry.
It needs a bit more time. It's lacking a bit in body. I find it very, very light. You know, for it's a peated. You know, there's peat there, that's for sure, obviously. But it's young. It's got ways to go yet. But it's a very, very good dram. I would drink it anyway. It's not going to set the world on fire for me, but given time, it will. It's a beautiful dram.
I don't know if this whiskey is readily available, folks, because this is one of the drams we did use in the original Water Life tasting, and Glasgow Distillery supplied us this whiskey in these bottles. So there's no label on them. All it's got is a duty stamp. It looks like a Johnny Walker bottle, a 1 litre bottle, but it's not. It's got Cwch Nai on it, Anyone familiar with that brand? I've certainly never heard of it, but it came from the Glasgow distillery.
It's a very rare bottle.
Yeah, it's
getting rarer every tasting.
It's a
Bruce,
one-off.
do we know the age of this, Bruce?
No, there was no age. All we know is that it's Glasgow distillery. It was peated and it was 46%. And Jim has used his nose and palate to determine it was a wine cask. And I would agree with that. I don't think it's sherry.
Oh no, it's not sherry. No.
It's interesting, isn't it? I'm guessing it's 3 or 4 years old, or maybe because Glasgow distillery hasn't been running for that long. So it's for its age again. It's a cracking whiskey, and it's a tribute to the, as Jim says, distiller.
It's got a future. It's got a future. You know. Well done to the guys.
There's a small but real possibility that I may have had a hand in making this whiskey, which I'm because the Glasgow distillery was nice enough to come invite me to work there for a week as part of my research for the film. So I didn't make any peated spirit actually though, but I do know that they use a lot of virgin oak there because they were trying to get things to market quicker and age things as fast as they could. I think they're moved away from it now, but I know they were at the time. So I have a feeling that that's the case.
Okay.
Well, any marks for this one? So we've got 83 so far, 82. When you consider that this is possibly a 3 years and 1 day, literally, whiskey, that is exceptionally good, isn't it?
From a single bottle. I'm just going to tell you a little story. Have you time for a story?
Oh, him always.
Right, just pick up a glass with a stem. You pick up any glass with a stem. Right, I'm on a tour of Japan many years ago, and I'm teaching Suntory employees how to nose and taste whiskey. And Suntory have their own business school, and it's like an opera house. There's banks and banks and banks. Every student has their own computer. They have buzzers to score things, and it's all fantastic. And this is one of my funny moments. I had great fun in Japan. The Lost in Translation movie was absolutely bang on. It was really, I was living that stuff. It was great. So I'm standing on stage, and around me in 3 levels is dozens of whiskey salesmen and people who work for Suntory, and I'm teaching them how to taste. So when they go to the Ginza and they go to the strip joints and all these places, and you know how the Japanese drink, it's kampai, and they just shoot it. There's no tasting or smelling, it's kampai. And after about 6 kampais, they're kampaiing on the floor. There's something about the metabolism that does not enable them to remain standing. So they tend to lie on the floor. It's so much fun. But I was working through an interpreter who had been trained in an American school. So, can you see my glass? Yes, you can see me?
Yes.
So imagine you are the Japanese, right? You know, huge theatres full of them. And I've got my interpreter. I said to the interpreter, please pick up your glass. When you're so now, Jim Stan, hey, glass. So they all pick up their glass. I speak Japanese fluently. After 3 drams, I can speak Japanese and Gaelic. So after 4 drams. And she was very dramatic, this girl, and all these people are just do exactly what they're told. And I said, take the glass, do not put your nose deep into the glass and inhale deeply, because your eyes will fall out. Put the finger on top of the glass and then remove the finger, keep the finger that goes out of the glass, otherwise your eyes will fall out. And she went, hi, finger. And I look up, and there's, I don't know, 200 people smelling their own finger. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, what am I doing? So somewhere in Tokyo, people are going about smelling their own finger. She didn't remove the finger. So the next time you're in a bar, try nosing your whiskey with your finger in your left hand. Yeah. Lost in translation. So you've got a fabulous Port Charlotte there. I made it. Tell me what you think. You're the critics. This is your big chance. And it's in a Bordeaux wine cask. The strength is 60.9. Tell me what you think. You are judging me now.
So this is number 5.
It's good. One thing is good to know that now, if anybody happens to stumble into Japan and they see a guy smelling their finger instead of just drinking the whiskey, we know who trained the guy.
They were all doing it. You know? It was really. There were many moments of that movie lost in translation. Who was the actor in that movie?
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Was it Bill Murray?
Yeah, lost in translation. No, it happened to me.
Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, right, guys, concentrate. 60.9 post Charlotte 2007 red wine cask. I would like to hear what you think of my creation, which I regarded as one of my top creations.
Jim, just to say, you're destroying Bruce's original idea of a blind tasting. By the way, I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, but this is working so much better, Carl.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, Port Charlotte's quite heavy pieces. You know that.
It's not a blind tasting anymore. It's a surprise tasting. Because at least you don't know what the whiskey is until Jim starts describing it. So it's not a surprise tasting, which is good.
So, any thoughts on it? What are you finding?
I'm so happy to have been able to have tasted that, because I've actually got a bottle of that as well. So I'm absolutely privileged.
It's amazing if it's 60.9, because it's so. I would never have said it was that high in ABV. Amazing.
It's very, very smooth, Jim. It hardly touches your back of your throat. It's beautiful. At 60.9, it's amazing.
Oh man.
There's not an awful lot of peat on the nose there.
Yeah, and this one needs a wee bit of water. It really does, just to cut through that peat. Peat is very oily, you know. So no shame if you add a bit of water to it. I always add water to whiskey. And just as you're adding your water, just look at the natural oil. It is non-chill filtered. That is key. Non-chill filtered. Look at the oil moving in there. That oil from the malted barley is coming through there. Love it.
Anybody getting spearmint on it? Peppermint, spearmint.
Yes, there's a little bit of mint there. Yeah, there's a sharpness to it, you know.
It's bloody gorgeous. It really is.
Right, Alan Mitchell, are you ready?
Your poetry.
Are you ready, Alan Mitchell? Okay, here's what I got. 60.9 from the red wine cask. I said it opens beautifully on peat smoke and coastal wildflowers, sea pinks, wild lilies, riverbank marigolds, purple heather. There's a lot of floral notes in there, all held in a cradle of French oak. Then the sweet crispiness of the malted barley emerges and is accompanied by lighter notes of ripe plump grapes which slipstream in on a coastal marine overture. Is this poetry or what is this? Lennon McCartney couldn't do that sort of shit, man, I'm telling you. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll just do that again. Slipstreams in a coastal marine overture of blowing sand and crushed seashells. Add a splash of water and it changes in a heartbeat to notes and flavours of Turkish delight, all cocooned in a cradle of oak, smoke and sea spray. At once graceful and brawny. It's mind-boggling as the wine influence tries valiantly to tame the West Coast Islander born by the sea with his smoky character.
Wow.
After withstanding the storm, the succulent sweetness of the Grand Cru wine emerges beautifully, like a sunrise after the storm, bringing a sophistication and serenity to the senses. Robert Burns couldn't write this stuff. It's Beauty and the Beast. There are no losers. The finish is long and lingering, with the palate swinging into Louis Armstrong. What a wonderful world. with the spirit in your hand, it sure is. One of my top creations ever. That was just a nice wee taste note.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Jim McEwan, national poet. Yeah.
Jim, we were up in Lewis last year at the back end of the summer, and we actually watched the other movie, which I'll not give anything away about it. However, we had a great time, and we had tasted a few nice whiskies. And when we watched the movie, the one thing that both myself and my mate Tam had said was, when you watch Jim McEwan talking about the whiskies in that movie, you didn't get any of that bullshit about tasting notes. And we watched it again, and that's right, yeah. However, the tasting notes that you've read out tonight, who wrote them?
Me.
Honestly.
Yeah, but I live on a different planet to you. I live on an island where we have all these different things. This is not Glasgow, you know, and the wind's blowing in. And I live in a distillery, so it's a coastal islander born by the sea with a smoky character. After withstanding the storm of the succulent sweetness of my Grand Cru. This is where it's coming from. This is not a bourbon cask, this is a Grand Cru. It emerges beautifully like a sunrise after the storm, because we are on the Atlantic Ocean and we appreciate that sort of stuff. You don't get that from a tenement block in Mary Hill, I can assure you. So I'm talking about nature and all that sort of stuff. And you know, there are no losers. And I like music. I said the finish is long and lingering with the palette swinging into Louis Armstrong. What a wonderful world.
Jim, what I was going to say was, Jim, if you can you come up with slightly more elaborate tasting notes for the next time? Because I think this basic stuff is just, you know, you're just better than.
You son of a bitch.
He's looking for trouble. He's looking for trouble.
I bloody hate you, Carl. Enjoy your last glass of whiskey with me.
Cheeky burger, Carol.
You telling me,
before any of you ask, by the way, we've already got a signed agreement from Jim. Jim's going to with ourselves is going to release a book with all his tasting notes. I think in a couple of 100 years' time, he'll be known as the Bard of Bruichladdich.
Yeah.
Or maybe take away the word "the," and it just says Bard from Bruichladdich. I think that's more likely, Bard from Bruichladdich.
So what you're saying is, Bruce, that we're going to have a McEwan night, not just a Burn future.
Yeah, I think that'll be it. We'll have a McEwan night. So there'll be cans of McEwan's Export and some nice Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte and Octomore, maybe even a cheeky wee Lockendall as well.
Yeah, just going back to the Japanese, as manager of Momo Distillery, I was entertaining a lot. Japanese would come over to visit the distillery, obviously. And I knew the Japanese style of drinking. They don't sip, they just go kampai and they shoot it. You understand? There's no nosing and tasting and bugging about with that. They just say kampai, raise the glass, and then you shoot it, and then the next guy buys the next round. And this big group came over to visit me at the distillery in Syria. I just bought the distillery and spent a fortune on it. So I was looking after them, and I took them to the golf course. Of course, none of them could hit a ball because they'd never done it before. But anyway, we had good fun going around the golf course. And this was at the Macri Hotel beside Isla International Airport. And it was a bit of a shambles at that time. It was really falling down. It wasn't very good. But I wanted them staying there because they're close to the airport, and the chef was very good. So I went over to entertain them at the Macri Hotel, and it was pretty dour. There wasn't much lights on. There was a fire going, and the food was all right. And they started drinking kampai style, where the bottle goes round, you fill up your glass, and they all say kampai, and you shoot it back. There's no tasting. There's none of that stuff. Okay, that's the kampai style. deadly, deadly. So I was lucky there was a rubber plant behind me. So I was firing it right into the rubber plant. Kampai, right over the shoulder into the rubber plant. The plant improved greatly after that, I've got to say. So as the night went on, they got drunker and drunker. And then the request came from the leader and he said, Jim-san. I said, yeah. He said, Jim-san, myself and my colleagues, we want to go to Mama San Bar. Now, you know what a Mama San Bar is? It's the bars in Japan where the girls go about with very little clothes on and sit on your knee and offer you more and more drink, right? You got the picture? Yeah, I've been in thousands of. And here I am. It's snowing outside, snow is pelting down. I've got 15 Japanese who are well on their way to be absolutely bloated, drunk, skunk. And he said, we want to go to Mama San Bar. There is no Mama San Bars in Port Ellen Island. And that's the nearest town. I can assure you. There's no. So, and they were very, very disappointed. Jim-san, we want to go. I said, no, we can't do this. They said, what I can do, I can give you a game of snooker, right? Just to try and buy time. And if you win, you get Bowmore Distillery. And if I win, I take over as chairman of Suntory. I also know Jim-san. Hi. I know chairman. Oh, okay. So we go through, and there's only one bulb and it's above the snooker table, right? So I set the balls up, and these guys are now staggeringly drunk, right? They're leaning on the table and going from side to side. So, and when they're not looking, I'm slipping a ball into a pocket every chance I can get. And they're all clapping, oh, you know, and I set the ball up for them. So I came to the last ball on the table, which, as you know, as snooker guys, is a black ball, okay? So I positioned it right in the edge of the pocket so that the Japanese couldn't miss it. Still with me? It's snowing outside, the Japanese are drunk. There's only one light in the snooker hall, Jesus Christ. Well, how am I going to entertain? I've got no women to give them a name for that. I tried for killing, but you know, the old age pensioners were all in bed. So so I said, a very, very old Scottish tradition, before the black ball dies, you must drink a large whiskey. And the interpreter went, oh, that's one of Jim-san. Heights one on a bottle of heights one on to die. So I take them through to the bar and I said to the bartender, give them all a big billion. And when they're having the dram, I go outside and I get a snowball and I make the perfect snowball. I then remove the white ball from the table and replace it with a snowball. Still with me? You understand, Bruce? Yes. He's maybe smiling now and again. It would help. A miserable looking bugger. Anyway, so I give them the shout, come back in. So they come staggering in. And the boss man, who's a big, like a sumo wrestler, he has decided, because he's the most important man, if he takes a shot, they win Bowmore Distillery. I also know Jim-san. So I've got this beautiful snowball. So he's leaning on the shot, you with me? And he's asking for a photo. I also know photo. He wants to get a photo taken of him winning Bowmore Distillery. So he goes down. I also know Black Ball. Hi, so no Bowmore Distillery. Oh, Tokyo. Oh, no. And he smashes the cue and it goes straight through the snowball. And they thought it was a fucking real ball, excuse the language. And they all start clapping. They thought this man was so powerful. The back ball remains. So I took the snowball off the table, replaced it with white ball. I potted the black ball, and Bowmore was safe. You understand? But it was the look on the Japanese.
You now own Suntory.
They were frightened to laugh because it was the boss. You understand? They're all standing there waiting themselves, but they can't laugh. You know. Anyway, so. Last whiskey October. Oh, there's a million, man. Okay, guys, last whiskey number 6. We're coming up in time. October 2007, 13 years old, 57.5, high strength, 13 years old, as I said, Sauterne. So you've got the heaviest peated malt the world has ever known in a Sauterne cask. This is a big challenge, given that you've already had 5 whiskies before this. So I want some really sensible comments on this.
You're in the wrong group there, Jim.
I will get through it. One of my favorite ever Octomores. It's just, this is Beauty and the Beast. This is really Beauty and the Beast.
Right. Well, just on the nose, it is just you can just get the size of this dram just off that nose. It's
I probably haven't told you, this is a sweet wine cask. This is not a red wine cask, it's a sweet wine cask, you know. And you know that Mark and Simon could always get the best cask, so this is absolutely superb. This is beyond anything we've tasted tonight so far. Octomore, 57.7. Cask number 3807. I describe the colour as pure gold or chartreuse. Any comments coming from all you experts out there? Like
Tim McKenzie's just said, Jim, 98 out of 100. This is the best peated Scotch I've ever had.
Give that man a packet of Smarties.
Exactly. They were another copy, the best Octomore I've tasted.
Thank you for the comment. I appreciate that. I really do
Ask for more.
That is really, really good.
Actually, do you mind, Tim? Do you want to just unmute, because Tim's joining us from the States. And hi, Tim.
Hi, everyone.
There you. So thank you very much for joining us, Tim. So I don't know if you wanted to just kind of give your opinion on it straight to Jim. Go for it.
For sure. I'm definitely a huge fan of the Octomore series. I've been picking up a couple special ones lately. I just got my hands on this this Renegade.
Oh
bottling,
yeah.
From Mark. But I think the first time that Katie and I tasted this this Sauternes Octomore, I was completely blown away. It was in one of Colin and Bruce's tastings, I think probably over a month ago. The official, you know, your official first tasting with Dramful, where we did all of the first releases and the second releases. And the standouts for me were definitely the Octomore, but I also loved the Brook Lottie Bordeaux too, the 1.1. I'm astonished at how easy of a drinker the Octomore is. So I have 2 bottles of this. I also have a bottle of the 100 milliliter offering from Dramful. I was just, you know, blown out of my seat by it for sure.
Tim, one thing I would say is that there's a lot of dodgy characters on here. I wouldn't give your address away.
Fair enough. If you come by, I'd be glad to give you a sample of it, though, for sure.
Right, we need your address. No. Cheers, Tim. Thanks very much for joining us, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Cheers, everyone.
Tim, I see you've got your daughter beside you.
I'm very lucky, Jim. She keeps me on.
Really lucky man, yeah.
Does anybody else want to dive in with their views on this one? I mean, I could. I'm not going to be as
when I drink this one, I want to say something. When I drink this dram, I feel like Cinderella. The shoe just fits me fine.
I'm not going to comment on that. I could comment on that. I'm not going to do that. The thought
what are you wearing, Barry?
Guys.
This feel that I'm just putting on that glass slipper, that just fits me right. Yeah. And I drink this. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving this. I have to get one. Bruce, I need one.
The next time you come on the show, Lucinda, you should wear your dress. It would look good.
Well, we're getting some pretty high scores here, Jim. I'm keeping a track because I'm impressed with our first 100 and 2 99s. So
Oh my God,
that's pretty
insane.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. I'm going to read you the taste note, okay?
Yep, go for it, Jim.
What we'll do is, in the future, if you can't write down my taste notes, but we need to come up, Colin, we'll need to come up with a system whereby you can send out online the taste notes that I write to the people who are attending the show. Would you
Just
like
put
to
my
do that?
email address in the chat bar. So if anyone wants to send me an email the next few days, I've got all these on file and we can get them sent to you with no problem at all.
There you go. Not many companies can do that. Okay, here we go. I said the body, the spirit is muscular, smoky, and intriguingly sensuous. This is the most heavily peated malt in the world, yet the sweet notes of the wine calms the giant and gives a flavour and texture that blows your senses into a place never before experienced. On the nose and the palate. Your expectation of a brutal smoke-induced monster is shattered. This is the sexiest spirit ever created. I repeat, this is the sexiest spirit ever created. The intensity of smokiness has been seduced by the sophistication of the superb first growth white wine. It should not be possible to calm the beast, but it has, and the result is absolutely amazing. It opens in a heat haze of peat fires and sweet oak, bog myrtle, heather flowers, wild thyme, and then the beauty that is the wine emerges with style and grace, totally blowing your senses apart. The sweetness of the greatest sweet white wine in the world, there's your clue. The greatest sweet white wine in the world totally seduces the giant, and the result is amazing. The smoke and marine notes pay homage to the cask, and it's a case of spiritual seduction, and the beast is transformed into a gentle giant. Now the aromatics and flavours emerge with hints of wild flowers and plants from the peat fields, heather, primrose, buttercup, wild lilies, and they in turn merge in harmony with the intensity of the wine sweetness. It's only when you taste the spirit that your senses go into a hedonistic aromatic trance. Plums, soft green grapes mingle with a slipstream of cooling marine sea breezes. French oak, peat smoke, sweet barley, all created by super slow distillation and matured on the west coast of Islay, where the air is pure and the cask breathed in. Without doubt, this is one of my most cherished children in 57 years of distilling. This beautiful spirit has made my spiritual journey complete. Did you get all that?
Yeah. No, I think you need to do it again, Jim.
No, that was superb.
No, it was a poetic poetry in motion there. Amazing. And the whiskey is just stunning. It really is. I don't know if anyone else would like to jump in and give their views on this.
So what I should add, to our knowledge, this is actually the oldest Octomore to date that's ever been bottled. I think there was another one that was 13 years old, another independently bottled one, but it's not as old as ours. So we had that on fairly good authority. Obviously, some older ones may come out after this, but yeah, to date, this is the oldest bottled.
I think it's absolute. I mean, it takes a lot of balls to put the heaviest peat and malt into a sweet wine cask.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage, because you know that all the critics are going to hit you, but you don't care because you're a free distillery. You're not beholden to any major other distillers around about you. So that Octomore for me is one of the standouts of my life.
If I may say, Jim, I think I've tasted quite a few of your Bruichladdich drams and the fiddlings that you did with wine casks, and it's such a smooth thing to get done perfectly, you know, to get the wine in there but not to destroy the whiskey that's coming in, and then to just take it out at the correct age so you still get the balance, that nobody's driving over anybody. And I think that today we've had a absolutely beautiful examples of different whiskeys going into wine barrels, and then what you get out when you know when you have to take it out of there. So when you had said that, okay, now this is where it's gonna go. You can't gain anything more by staying any longer there. And I have to say, as I wrote there in the text, I think this is the Octomore for the ages. I think this is way best that I've tasted. I think the wine cask and the liquid and the barrel, they beautiful, man. Absolutely.
Well, I do appreciate your comments very, very much, and the way you've said it, with the emotion you've said it. There's not many folk on the high wire, you know what I mean? A lot of folk go to the circus, but not many go on the high wire. And this is right up there. It takes a lot of courage and belief in the spirit and the cask to go and do stuff like this. And for me, this is, if I knock on heaven's door in the near future, I hope that the good Lord says, Jim, did you bring an Octomore 2007 with you? That would be really, really good. It's a heavenly whiskey for sure.
And then you say, and by the way, it's my bottle, you bugger.
There's no angels getting this. So that concludes our tasting. I'm working with Dramful now, and I have a lot of my own casks, which I have sold to Dramful. And so there's a whole lot of stuff coming your way from my personal stock, which I have just said I've handed on to the Dramful team. And I'm sure you'll find some more beautiful spirits in there. I've enjoyed the evening. It's been really, really good. The comments, Alan Mitchell, you've got a big future ahead of you. You could be a noser, no problem. And Mickey Plummer, you guys. And so thank you all very much. And to our hosts, you guys have been great. I know the check is in the post, so I'm quite happy about that.
It's from Geordie Bank, so I wouldn't necessarily present it anywhere.
Just so you know, Jim, just before you disappear here, I've kept a tally of all the scores as we went through. So just we'll go in reverse order. So we'll start with Valiant sixth. We had with 82 points, which is a good score no matter where you are. With 82 points, the Glasgow Peated. Place, we had the Waterford with 84 points, which is again good. And then fourth place, almost vying for third, Glenallachie with 88 points, which thankfully for Jim, Bruce and I means that the top three whiskies are all ones of ours. So thank you all. Third place with 92 points, Bruichladdich 2008. Second place with 94 points, so an absolute tight one here, the Port Charlotte. And first place with 96 points was the Octomore. So,
yay.
So thank you guys. That's great reviews.
That is a great result, isn't it?
Amazing.
Well, thank you to everybody who sent in these scores. It makes me feel that my journey of 59 years in the whiskey business, to come out at this stage of my career and get scores like that means a hell of a lot to me. You know, it was never an easy journey, and but it was lots of good friends made in great whiskey. But that is absolutely all the people who attended the tasting tonight. I'm glad you all had the courage to come and tell us what you thought. That way we know where you're going. So thank you all a million. And if you ever find yourself on the island of Islay, give me a call. Knock on the door.
Actually,
and you'll be
Jim,
welcome.
before you go, and I know Maggie is here, and I know that I wanted to drop you a note to say Maggie wanted to kind of reconnect with you. So I just want to give Maggie a chance to sort of say hi. Hi, Maggie.
Well, hello there.
Hi, Maggie.
Hello.
Hi,
and
Maggie.
I just wanted to say to everybody, I discovered this group yesterday morning. I joined it yesterday morning, and I viewed the film yesterday afternoon, and it was wonderful. My family left Islay a couple of generations ago, so I saw Bruichladdich in its sad, sad state. I too had tears in my eyes. And Jim, I'd love to get in touch with you again. So
yeah, well, I'm easy.
I'll help on that one if that's all right with you. I'll get that sorted and give you each of your contact details if that's all right.
That's wonderful, Carl. Thank you. It's so nice to see all of you people, but my God, I have so much to learn about whiskey.
Oh, Maggie, you've got plenty of time. You've got plenty of time.
Oh, thank you. I have to be a quick learner.
Keep an eye out for what Dramfool are doing. We'll be doing a lot of tastings coming up, so we'll just watch out for Dramfool, and they'll give you a whole list of what tastings we're doing and the new product coming out. Dramfool is a new company, as you know. The two lads who started it are good friends of mine, Colin and Bruce, and they're taking a huge risk on me and the whiskey I make, and it's very, very exciting. I think Dramfool will become a force to be reckoned with because of the quality of the spirit it's buying. So we'll keep you in touch, Maggie, for whenever we're doing tastings, and it'll be a joy to have you there, but particularly as one of, you're probably my cousin,
That's right.
42nd removed, but you're still there,
That's okay. We still spell our name the correct way.
So thanks for introducing yourself. That's magic. Fantastic. Anything else, folk?
Anybody else want to? I know we had a couple of questions. Go on, Mickey, or you?
Yeah, no.
You want to say something?
Yeah, no. So just on the peatedness on Octomore, is there been a laid down ppm level where you actually become like blind to peat?
No,
because obviously we know that Octomore is massively high, like the highest ever. We get more smoky peat from less ppm. In like in the Port Charlotte, for instance, earlier, you can taste that it's peaty, more smoky. But when I go to the Octomore, I don't get that same. Well, obviously it's not going to be the same because it's more intense. But I don't get the peat or smoke from it at all.
Well, that's down to the age. That's longer. People, well, certainly feet,
of course,
and certainly the peating level. If you take the Port Charlotte 2007 and the Octomore at 2007, which is what we had tonight, and they scored almost identical, 94 versus 96. I think the sweet white wine has calmed the Octomore down a bit because of its viscosity, whereas, as you know, the Port Charlotte was in a red wine cask, more tannins in there, whereas the sweet white wine has really cooled it down. But that's the beauty of single cask bottling. So you understand, you're going to get different all the time. It's not this bottling line of millions of the same stuff coming out. That's the great thing about Dramfool. You'll never get the same dram twice, and you have just proven that. So you've given me a great opportunity because they're all individual casks. So you got to pick your favorite and buy it, because you'll never be able to buy it again because it's a single cask.
Yeah. Well,
So
what
that's
I should have said is, obviously, Jim will tell you that the Port Charlotte's usually peated at 40 ppm. That particular Octomore that we had tonight, that was 167 ppm.
Wow. Well, that shows you it's 4 times more, yet the seduction by the sweet white wine has calmed the peat right down and created something special. So don't worry too much about numbers. You know that Port Charlotte's about 40 parts. Octomore's up about 150, 160. I've actually had it up at 300 at one point in one batch. That's the way it works. But it's been great talking to you guys tonight. And, Dramfool, young company, 2 young guys out and helping them out. We've got some great whiskey. So if you see the Dramfool label, you've met the 3 guys, you've met Colin and Bruce and myself.
Jim, sorry to interrupt. I love you. I think you're great. Calling me a young guy. I'm nearly 49 and you're calling me a young guy. It's just brilliant.
That is young. That is young.
It's a drink. 6 drams.
He was drunk when he said it.
6 drams, you all look pretty young. Anyway, thank you very much.
I'd just like to say, on behalf of everybody that's taken part, you're a legend, and it's just, I mean, this is our second event together, and I could sit here and listen to you for hours and hours more. I really appreciate you taking the time out, and it's just so much fun. Thank you very much again, and I'll look forward to our next event together.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Well,
Yes, look forward to your book as well.
Oh, right.
Carl, you wouldn't say that if you had to spend a flight from Schiphol to Nuremberg with the man sat next to you. Do you know what I mean? So,
if there's whiskey involved, I don't care.
And anyway, just before I go, I got to plug my autobiography, which is coming out shortly. It's printed in Germany and it's selling like it's now. I think I said to you, it was sitting at number 10, ahead of the Queen's book. Queen
So you want us to push it to 9 or 8?
Yeah, well, true. So the book will soon be on sale. So if you want a great story on whiskey and the ups and downs of my life, from a child to sitting here talking to you, it's going to be available very, very shortly.
Jim, I put the link in the I put the link in the chat, Jim. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Jim. Good to see you.
I'll maybe see you, Jim, end of May, 'cause I'll be on the island as well.
Okay, buddy, if you're passing by, give us a shout.
I certainly will.
Okay, thanks very much.
Take care.
Take care.
Greg, I'll speak to you some other time. Okay. All the best. Good night,
Jim.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
So now that Jim's leaving, I don't know, Greg, are we okay to stay on, or you guys want to nick off? Or
no,
I mean,
we're okay.
I was going to say what we normally do as far as NEWAS is that we have the virtual pub that's open, and we usually kind of stick around until somebody turns the lights off and locks the door. You guys, obviously it's Greg's kind of link and setup and everything, and Tony. So we're kind of in their hands to an extent, but I don't believe you're in any hurry. If you want to stick around and share your views on tonight, I hope you had a great night. And I hope you really felt that the tasting went really well. And thanks again to Bruce. I don't know whether Bruce and that sticking around, but again, you know, you're welcome to stick around. We're not ending immediately or anything. And thank you very much for taking part. I hope it was fun.
Okay, no, well, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting us along. We've had a great time. You guys are a knowledgeable bunch, so it's been good fun. Obviously, we've had a night tonight with one of the legends of whiskey, Jim McEwan, and I hear some of his stories. Some of them are new tonight, some of them I've heard before, but there's always something new. It's very interesting listening to Jim, and he has some of the takes he has on things that appear simple are just fantastic. I think you learn a lot from him. He's got words of wisdom. So I'd like to thank you again, Carl. I'm going to have to go, unfortunately, but what I would say, Carl, if you're interested, Dramfool does have a lot of bottlings coming out this year. Because of COVID, it was very hard to get casks moved around. A lot of the warehouses were shut. All of a sudden, I've gone from releasing just the odd whiskey to I'm probably going to be releasing about 8 whiskies in the next few months. So I do have some really interesting whiskies, and it'd be good if we could organise a tasting fairly soon, and I can let you guys taste the whiskey before they go on sale. And obviously, you know me, I only bottle whiskies that I like. So once again, thank you very much. Thanks to everyone who's come tonight, and thanks to Greg and Alphonse as well. We've been working closely with them for the last 6 months or so. It's been good fun. So good night, everyone. And
Bruce, can I ask you a question before you go?
Of course you can, Barry. Yeah.
Is anything of what we tasted this evening, is it still available?
Yes. The Waterford and the Glenallachie.
Yeah. Just so you know that there's 2 less of the Glenallachie. I know for certain because I bought them while we were actually in the tasting. Not many left in the Inverary shop.
Let me get to the point. What about the Octomore? Bruce, I need...
Unfortunately, the Jim McEwan stuff, when we released it on our website, is sold out in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
There's more Jim McEwan Octomores to come, though, yes?
Of course, yes. Well, there are more to come, not just from Dramfool, I might add. which is what Greg's alluding to. But
you must give us you must give us some notice, so we can get it before it gets finished.
Well, it was advertised all over the world by Whiskey Auction. It was all over
Yeah,
Facebook.
but 6 minutes, Bruce.
It was in everyone's mailbox. So yeah, well, it's one of these things. I know how frustrating it is when certain distilleries release limited edition bottles, for instance, Ardbeg, and you log on to the website and you can't get in and you can't get your bottle. But unfortunately, I've been on the other side of the fence this time for the Jim McEwan signature collection release, and there was quite a lot of frustrated people. The website worked to cope with the traffic, but the bottles just sold out extremely quickly. So the next release will be on the 7th of May at 12 noon UK time. So obviously there'll be some announcements on Facebook, etc., and there'll be some mailings going out. But
on the 7th of May, you're having another Jim McEwan release?
Yes, so we're having 2 releases very close together. The second release is all bourbon matured whiskey. It's all bourbon. Some of you guys have tasted them before because we did a release 1 and a release 2 tasting. So these bottles will be released on the 7th of May. We've got a very special bottling coming out the end of May, a one-off. And then after that, I think the 3rd release will probably be sometime in August, and the 4th release will be in December, and so on. So we aim to, space the releases out by 3 or 4 months every time.
What's coming out on the 7th of May, Bruce? Tell us.
That'll be the release of the second.
So they're all they're all bourbon matured. So there's a Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte, and all matured. So if you look on the website, you'll see them.
And I understand, Bruce, that you can be bribed in Ferraris.
I'm not a Ferrari man.
All right, whatever.
Because you attend one down I.
No, I mean it's one of these things. I mean we did offer, we gave people plenty of notice because I know I've released some of my bottles and some people haven't seen the Facebook message and been disappointed. So we did do a big build up. We did send not just by Facebook, but by emails and Instagram, etc., even by Twitter, which I'm still trying to get my head around. We've got someone working for us doing that. But obviously, there will be announcements probably at the start of this week, basically saying it's the 7th of May, 12 noon. So,
yeah, and we know the world we live in now in terms of exceptional bottles, exceptional stuff just will be in huge demand. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah, it's just one of these things, and these bottles. I mean, I hold bottles. I know they're not cheap. I'm a whiskey punter like you guys. Obviously, we paid a premium for these bottles, so for these casks because they're gems. You've tasted 3 whiskies tonight. And that was the first release, and you've given them all exceptionally high scores. And ultimately, all the whiskies are good. The ones we've tasted so far, they're all exceptional quality. They're all absolutely classic, examples of either wine cask matured, Port Charlotte, Bruichladdich, or bourbon matured. All Jim's casks are all first fill, so they're all first fill. They haven't been it's straight into wine casks or straight into bourbon casks that have come from the States. So there's no refill casks. They're all first fill. So that they're quality, and obviously we've had to pay a premium for the casks. So the whiskies are more expensive than you would expect from Dramful. But I mean, Dramful, don't get me wrong, Dramful is not going away. We're still going to be doing standard. Well, I would say standard, but it's the standard Dramful range. Alan's got a bottle there, a rum Bruichladdich. I've We've got a Blair Athol 10-year-old, which is just about to be released. It's 59.8%. Ex-sherry butt, really nice whiskey, 50 quid a bottle. So that's a fair price, isn't it? It's a bottle and a half
That
of whiskey.
sounds a damn good price. That does,
Yep.
Bruce.
So we're going to continue to do core dram full releases, and by core, they're not just 50 quid bottles of Blair Athol. We're also going to have, we've also got 3 casks from a distillery on Islay that I'm not allowed to name, but the whiskey will be called Red Bag. So maybe you can guess what distillery that's from. You said it,
That's a
Alan,
tough
I didn't. We've got a really, really good Glen Marvelous, which you guys at NEWAS have tasted. Oloroso Glen Marvelous, 9 years old. That's going to be our official Spiritus Speyside bottle. That'll be coming out. That's a wee bit more expensive. Well, that's because casks from Glen Marvelous Distillery are very hard to get and they're very expensive. So I think that's going to be retailing for about 120 quid, but it's a belter of a whiskey. In the future, 2nd of September this year, I will be bottling a 12-year-old Loch and Dart.
Sorry, Barry. When possible, you could mute when just while you're not talking. It's just something we're getting a bit of background noise from your side. Sorry, Barry.
No, sorry about that.
It's all right.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out. So there's actually going to be a glut of kind of Speyside and Highland bottles alongside the usual kind of kosher of Islay that I usually do. So it's just that it's been crazy trying to get stuff moved with COVID. It's taken so long, and then all of a sudden the floodgates have opened, and my bottler's saying, where the hell am I going to store all these drum full casks? I don't have space. I'm like, well, dear, you just better bottle them then. So it's been a bit wild, but anyway, that's what's happening, and I'd love to do a tasting for you guys just with dram full bottles, not the Jim McEwan signature collection. We can also in the future do another Jim McEwan signature collection tasting for yourselves. We might not be able to get Jim on the tasting, but certainly myself and Colin, and the quality of the whiskies are going to be there. So I'd just like to say thank you again for inviting me. It's been good fun, and some really nice feedback on the whiskies, and I'm really glad. I was worried about the Glenallachie. I thought you might score that a little bit higher than the 3 Jim McEwan whiskies.
No.
Because I personally thought that was a really good whiskey.
It's a stonker.
Yeah, it was a good whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. And good night, everyone.
And definitely, we'd love to have another tasting with you guys. It's always great to have a tasting with you, Bruce.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Good night. Good night.
Can I ask a question from Craig?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I was just wondering, since as you said, you followed Jim for well, for ages, basically, behind his as his shadow and so forth. So, but is there something that you would say that was there something or some events or something that stayed with you as kind of a big surprise or something that you view that, okay, well, I didn't see this one happening?
Well, I certainly didn't see the Australian distillery happening. That was a big thing. You know, I live in Los Angeles, and Alphonse, who's with us, he and I both live in Los Angeles. And I wrote to Jim in maybe, I don't know, December of 2018. And I said, we're going to come back to Islay. We would like to interview you one more time, because our edit started taking shape. And he wrote back to me and said, you absolutely can interview me, but you can't come to Islay. You have to come to Australia. I'm here for 2 months. So Alphonse and I looked at we looked at a map of the world and thought, well, if you're in Los Angeles, Australia is the same distance as Islay, basically. So why not go that direction? But we still had to go to Islay to do other stuff. We did our Alan Logan interview then. We did one of our Mark Renier interviews then. So we still had to go there. So Alphonse and I flew to Ireland, then England, then Scotland, then back to California, took a week off, then flew to Australia, and then spent 8 days in Australia with Jim. And I certainly didn't see that happening when I set out to make a film about whiskey. So, you know, that was the biggest thing.
A question from myself for the big man. Greg, out of all the remarkable people in the whiskey industry, right, and this is not to disturb Jim, but why did you choose Jim?
Well, I mean, part of it is because you guys saw tonight, he's very, very charismatic.
Oh yeah,
he's
a
a great storyteller, you know, but he also was very generous with his time. And part of that is, I mean, part of that's just his personality, and part of it's due to the fact that he doesn't work at Bruichladdich anymore. He was working, he was getting Ardnaho online at the time, so he just had more time for us. You know, we spent, I think I had 2 hours with Rachel Berry. You know, we had 8 days with Jim, and then Australia, and then Germany. Like, you know, the availability helped a lot. But also the biggest thing, though, without a doubt, is the fact that the Bruichladdich story is just an awesome story. Whether let's just say let's just say you don't drink, it's still a fascinating story. You know, it's just the fact that it was closed and they brought it back, and and every day, and all of their innovations were not born of just a random desire to innovate. It was born out of a necessity of being broke. And no one in the world was using all these wine casks. I mean, that to me is amazing that these casks were just, can you imagine, like now, as Mark says in the film, now it's all Chateau Wagga Wagga. You know, all these casks were just not getting used at all. And they were broke, so they used them, and they changed the industry.
Yeah.
And the other thing to me that became really apparent while we were editing the film was that I think Jim and Mark both came from very, very different places, very different approaches.
And that was quite obvious as well. You know, they both of them said that they both clashed quite a few times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they both openly admit that. And I think that's how they probably worked so well together to produce and get Bruichladdich to where it is now.
Yeah. The analogy I always use is it's like one of these bands that makes a couple of great albums, but you just kind of know they're not going to last forever. They're not going to be the Rolling Stones. They're going to be more like, I don't know. I wish I had a band loaded in my mind, but there are bands that, you know, will put a few great albums together because the music just works. And, you know, Mark and Simon, I always ignore Simon. He actually makes fun of me about that. But he, you know, Mark combined with Simon is, or combined with Jim, is just this magical synergy that just no one saw happening.
No, for sure. Brilliant. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that.
Sure.
I think somebody else asked as well. Sorry, Carl, I don't want to steal your thunder being the main man. But
no, I'm not. I'm just here for the laugh.
Somebody else asked in the comments there as well, is there an intention for maybe Water of Life Part 2?
Yes, there very much so is. And actually, it's too bad that Bruce is gone. Is Colin still here? Is Colin
still here? I can make up an answer.
We are very well underway making a film about independent bottling. And Bruce may not be in the first film, but he's in the second film. He's already been captured on camera.
Perfect.
And we're making a sort of supporting second film about independent bottling because we think it's a really unique niche in the whiskey world. There's no equivalent of independent bottlers in the wine world or food or, you know, beer. And it's a unique and fascinating thing. So that's going to be the next thing, and we're hoping to make a series of films about spirits in general. We have a couple other ones lined up that aren't even necessarily whiskey related, but that's definitely the first up after this.
Greg, that's really I'm kind of leaping in here because there's so many great characters and independent bottlers out there. I'm just curious whether you're able to share any of the other indie bottlers that you might be kind of involving in that project.
Sure. I mean, one of the reasons that we wanted to do the independent bottling film is we spent a full week at Gordon and MacPhail for this film.
Yeah.
And then we didn't use anywhere near as much of the footage or the stories that we captured as we would like. And it kind of grew out of that. And then we also spent a half a day with Ian Croucher at North Star. We spent, now, see, we have one of our team members is in Edinburgh, and So we haven't been able to go to Scotland in a year, but he's there. He interviewed Bruce already for me. I send him interviews, and then he goes and conducts the interviews. Then he sends me the audio recordings, and you know, we work pretty well together. And he has also interviewed Alex Bruce at Adelphi. We've also interviewed Adrian Hoos, Claxton. We've got a couple other things set up that we haven't done yet. And, you know, we're also, there's, you know, one of the things to me that's interesting about independent bottling is there's independent bottlers that aren't even based in Scotland. There's a really big one here in the US, here in Los Angeles, actually, called Alexander Murray. And they do loads of white label things for like Costco. They do the Costco whiskeys here, and they do Trader Joe's whiskeys, but they all have their own line of whiskeys as well. And so we've done some interviews with them already, and we're interested to do more. Actually, I just bought a bottle of 27-year-old Bruichladdich from them. That's nice. Phenomenal. There's a wine chain in California here called K&L Wines, and they're powerful enough in California that they'll do exclusive bottlings with Douglas Lang or with Alexander Murray and stuff. And so I have that was the 27-year-old Bruichladdich I have, which Alphonse had on my birthday 2 weeks ago.
Actually, I think KL are actually a member of NEWAS.
Oh, really?
Don't ask how, but they are. I mean,
David OG.
I don't know. I think that he might actually just be listed as KL. So I don't think it's him personally, his account or whatever. But one of the things I would suggest is we had Martin Armstrong from Whiskey Broker on the other night, and he's a character. I think you would not do anything wrong potentially putting him on your list of indie bottlers to interview. He's a great guy, and he's becoming a powerhouse in his own right as far as whiskey is concerned.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that. I agree with that, Carol. He's a superb guy, young man, young family, beautiful guy. Business.
And he's putting whiskey out there at really, really affordable prices, like ridiculously affordable.
Yeah.
Carl, send me info.
I agree with you, Carl. Great guy.
Yeah, I would, and he's a nice guy as well. I would definitely recommend having a word with him. His knowledge around how casks are just because of his operation, he has intimate knowledge about managing casks, not just from his own personal perspective, but managing casks for other people. And I would definitely recommend it anyway. But yes, I'll hook you up. Great.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great. The thing to me about independent bottlers, Bruce is a perfect example. We can talk about him since he's not here. It's really trusting them to curate your whiskey consumption. Oh, I don't know this distillery, but I know this guy and I trust his taste. So then I'll try this distillery. And it's a great way to try new distilleries. I have never in my life owned a bottle of Dalyuan that wasn't an independent bottling, but I actually love some of the independent Dalyuan bottlings I've had. I have two right now, and they're just one's a signatory and one is a Scotch Malt Whisky Society.
Just as an aside from that, Greg, good luck finding an actual official bottling from the distillery of Dalyuan, by the way. Just good luck with
that. I'm pretty sure I could get one here. There's one that's pretty easy to find here. It's in that squat bottle. I'm looking right now. Hold on. I mean, don't hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
We're all on.
Isn't there a flora and fauna version? Isn't there a flora and fauna?
Yeah, and it's there.
I
mean, it's too cheap. I mean, it's the classic of the flora and fauna. The ones they have left, they've lost a lot of good ones, but there's still some really good flora and fauna out there.
Yeah, I think I might have a bottle actually somewhere.
Yeah, 100% correct, Colin. 100% correct.
I had them all, and I sold them all, and I got done by selling them all. But my favourite was Mortlach, flora and fauna.
The Mortlach flora and fauna.
Dalyuan was pretty good as well, but sold them all, and I got ripped off. I was pissed off. I still made money out of it, but not a lot.
It's funny. I'm looking at all my local liquor stores right now here that I go to all the time, and every one of them has multiple Dalyuans that are all independent bottlings. But so far,
because in all fairness, right, you might find one, maybe two at a push but they don't come up very often. The only experience, most people's experiences with Daoyuan come from IBs. It's as simple as that. I mean, the majority of the experiences with them come from IBs.
Yeah, it's like Kalila.
Yeah.
One of the questions when we've done the interviews with independent bottlers, one of the questions we've been asking is, do you see a future in which all independent bottlings are going to be Kalilas? Sorry about the fire trucks passing. I'm actually sitting outside. It's a really nice day here in California, and I'm sitting outside, and there's fire trucks passing my house right now.
Well, if this had happened 2 hours earlier, I would have also been sat outside because it was a beautiful day in Glasgow. So,
well, you've got to take advantage of that as well.
Oh hell yes, Cole. Oh hell yes.
It is not a beautiful day here by LA standards. It's
what we tend to do for anybody who's been on NEWAS tastings before, and please sort of, if you don't mind indulging us for a second, what I tend to do is pick on people who have been quiet and not had a chance to, Mickey, to give a chance if they want to have a quick word and just kind of give their view on the evening. So I hope you don't mind, but I just wanted to kind of pick on a couple of people who have been quiet tonight, if that's all right. And I'm going to pick on Kay. Kay.
Hello, you're in headlights.
Kay Thompson, you're in headlights.
Yes, Kay.
Miss Thompson, unmute yourself and speak, young lady.
Go on, Kay. Tell us how you felt about tonight. What did you think of the whiskies and stuff?
I've really enjoyed it, actually. The film I haven't watched yet, that's scheduled for tomorrow. I know. I just didn't get around to it today. So doing that tomorrow. Some really interesting jams tonight. My favorite was the Octomore by far. Absolutely amazing. Very closely followed by the Port Charlotte. Very closely followed by the Bruichladdich Bordeaux cask. Absolutely stunning. But I've really enjoyed it. It's just been nice listening and watching people, and it's been cool.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kay. So I'm going to pick on Matt next. Matt Mason. I don't think you've said anything tonight, so I'm going to pick on you if that's all right.
Hey, Carl. No, I haven't said anything tonight. I'd just like to say what a marvellous guy Jim McEwan is. Fantastic. I was, for the whiskies, I was very, very surprised at the Waterford, actually. I really did like that. But my favourite was the Octomore. I think a lot of people have said that. In fact, that's one of the best whiskies I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's for us to get these reviews, as someone said in the chat bar, it's a big leap to buy these casks from Jim for Bruce and myself. But it's hearing these comments and hearing these reviews from people that will tell you the truth. If you don't like them, you'll tell us, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We get such consistently great reviews from events we've done with lots of people, and you guys know your stuff. There's no question. So,
my personal favorite tonight was the Port Charlotte. I mean, I loved the Octomore. Don't get me wrong, I loved the Octomore, but there was something about that Port Charlotte, man. That was a dance of spirit and age and wood and just and Stillman's skill. I mean, it was all there.
I'm a huge fan.
I understand that.
And I say that Charlie was on the last tasting I had. I was amazed by her. So I'd like to hear Charlie's view on tonight.
Yes, I'll go with that, Alan. Come on, Charlie. Where are you?
I don't really know what to say. My favorites tonight were Octomore by far. And I'm not even a peat fan. Jeremy knows this because we are in the same Norwegian tasting group. And I always say, I don't drink peat. Apparently I do. So the Octomore was my favorite. And then I think the Bruichladdich, and then the Port Charlotte.
So that's
Charlie
interesting.
Not too far off. Octomore was my first, and then we mixed up the other two slightly. but they were all great, weren't they?
Yeah,
And Jim
but
McEwan's storytelling is just superb.
Yeah, no,
As
you're not
I
wrong,
said-
Alan, but
as I said, he made me cry today
Yeah.
because he just sparked the passion for becoming someone in the whiskey industry. He just made it even stronger. And the Port Charlotte and the Bruichladdich was kind of side by side for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like them both.
But it's interesting, Charlie, that you say that you're not a peated whiskey fan, yet you chose Octomore as your top one. But that relates to the question that I asked Jim. You know, at what point do you become sensory blind to peat? You know, at what ppm level do you become sensory blind? Because with Octomore, right, now I'm enjoying a Port Charlotte, the new PAC 01. And I can get the peat, I can get the smoke. Fantastic, not a problem. Here we go, right? But see, when I'm drinking Octomore, and I'll be honest, I don't think Jim covered my question very well. When you get to Octomore, now you get flavors from the cask, etc. Brilliant, not a problem. Now it's not until the next day or a good few hours later that when that whiskey essentially repeats on you, that you get the peat, you get the smoke. Do you know what I mean? When I personally taste an Octomore, and I've had a fair few of them, 8.2 being my absolute favourite, I don't get that heavy peat, that heavy smoke, because I think after a certain point, you do become sensory blind to the peat. You do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I was trying to get out of Jim. And it's not until it wears off and it's a bit later on that actually it starts to come through, you know. So, and I think, Charlie, by you saying that the Octomore was your favourite and you not being a peat fan, pretty much sings true to what I was trying to ask Jim earlier on, really.
Yeah, but I had Octomore maybe 2 or 3 years ago. A friend offered me to taste this drink, and I actually lost my voice for 3 days because it was so peaty and so smoky and so heavy. And if you ask me to taste your Lafroig, I will literally go green in my face. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
But
And then the
Octomore, amazing.
Yeah.
Tonight's Octomore was so beautiful. That was the best.
It's an interesting dram in that it's 130 something ppm, so it is right up there. But of course, as Jim was saying, because the cask breathes, as we all understand, and the spirit moves throughout the years, every year maturation is very long, so that is a lot of breathing time. The smoke is also, as someone said in the chat bar quite rightly, the ppms are taken at the malting, not at the distillation, which I think
correct
the other way. They take it out the distillation. So there are different ways to measure it. The peat blindness, I think you're absolutely right, Mickey. There's a point where you just don't get it. It just doesn't get above, you know. And I think it's with tonight's Octomore, I don't think you're getting close to that because it's had 13 years for the peat to change and to soften. The sweetness, obviously, if you have any sherried Isla whiskey or any sherried peated whiskey, it's a very different peat. That sweetness of the sherry cuts it immediately, which is arguably one of the reasons you don't see many sherried or older sherry, maybe sherry finished, but not sherry matured Islas and things. And it depends, as Tony got in here as well, the type of smoke depends. Jim had covered this in a previous tasting. Where the peat comes from makes a big difference. If you're using Highland peat,
of course,
it's a very, what makes the peat is very different than Isla peat. Isla peat's filled with seaweed and they get all these iodine flavors that you get in the Lafroigs. Octomore is Bears, I think it is Bears, I think I'm right to say, Inverness, do the malting. So it's a very different peat as well. And Orkney peat, as Tony says there, is going to have a different feel. So there's so many makeups to this and slight difference, you know, how tight's the cask, how old's the cask, first fill, second fill, umpteenth fill. And the Sauterne, I think, as I say with the sherry, changed it totally. That's why we're here. They're all different. It's great, and you don't have to like. That's that's the other thing. You all had our favourites for all different reasons. And
I mean, and that's the good thing. So obviously, I'm the brand ambassador in the UK for Macmillan Swedish whiskey, and one of one of the really fun things I found out recently is that actually Swedish smoke and Swedish oak cancel each other out. So I had some cask samples sent to me, so I could then obviously go on and spread the good word, etc. So if we take into consideration, McEwan Svensk, which is Swedish oak, beautiful, lovely. It's got those like really like white pepper flavors from the Swedish oak, not a problem. And then we go on to Svensk, which is Swedish smoke, and you get that juniper smoke flavor coming through. Brilliant, not a problem. But see, when you put them both together, you don't get what you're expecting at all. In fact, so I got sent through a cask sample of a smoky Swedish oak that I was supposed to do for a cask release, do a wee video for it, and I was like, no, I think somebody's actually sent me the wrong sample. Can you send me another sample of smoky Swedish oak, please? So they sent me it through, and I was like, holy shit, no. So actually, I get what you're saying, Colin. You know what I mean? There's going to be some things at play which are gonna go backwards and forwards, and I can only relate it to my experience with that. Is Swedish oak and the juniper Swedish smoke, they cancel each other out, and it was mental. I was expecting some sort of like really big, heavy, peppery sort of thing coming at me, and it didn't happen. It was mental.
It's the joy with casks, and whether it's European oak, just in the more general terms, and European oak, American oak, whether it's there's one of the casks, I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was the Port Charlotte, was a very specific type of red wine cask. Different shape, different coopering. The wood is the trees are 200 years old before they are cut down. They are. There's so much to that, and I learn about it all the time. Bruce is the expert. He calls me the apprentice now and then, and I just learn as I go. I've been drinking whiskey for a long time, grew up in Speyside, but when you get into this alchemy, chemistry, and magic of what a cask does and how it does it, it's remarkable. And why we wouldn't be sitting here if that wasn't the case. We'd all be at home drinking whatever we preferred. So
exactly.
Can I just jump in for a second and just let everybody know that I think I've been asked about the information about in particular, the third and fourth dram. Thanks, Rob. Colin, can you ask Bruce or yourself if you could send me the list, or if you could post up on the group and let everybody know exactly what the lineup was. I think I've got the distilleries and obviously I know the first editions, but I didn't necessarily the full detail of the other so if you could share that.
I'm popping them in the group as I speak to you, and anyone tasting notes, as I say, just email me directly and I can get those sent across tomorrow. I'll sadly be at my desk tomorrow, so you'll get efficiency if nothing else.
Brilliant, thank you.
Boys, talking about the smoke, coming back to that issue, I belong to one of these clubs in Finland here. And one of the guys is quite a keen guy on chemistry, actually. And he's also a big fan of, I love whiskey, so all Lafroigs and Bowmores and all kinds of that stuff. And I've been to a couple of his like these smelling tastings, so which we primarily try to smell things out, and we do those differently, and we leave the stuff in the glasses for hours, and do these kind of things. And he explained a lot about how the actual, you have the BPMs, and it's counted from there, and it's counted from here, and all sorts of that stuff. But when he went to the background, he said that how smokiness is being interpreted by humans, it comes from very small amounts, and the smokiness, the smoky flavors, they are a huge combination of chemical elements in themselves. So basically, even though you're making different batches and you're saying that, okay, now we got this malt and it's been smoked like this, and then you have this barrel that's been charred like this and that, it's all the chemical materials in the background, they all change always. And whether or not how that in the end then relates to the product that you're gonna get is a highly complex thing. So in the end, it can be that some of the levels that you measure from the whiskey which are then that you proceed as saying that, okay, the BPM after in this product, you say it's 50 when it's coming out, and when it's gone into the bottle, it's 14 what's left there. But yeah, but out of that 14, then what are the chemical elements that are there? Those are the things that dictate what's the actual the smell and the taste of it. And depending on what those are, it starts to fluctuate. It tastes. So it can be actually fairly small amount, the BPMs that's left there once you get it into the bottle. But if those are of certain type, then it can feel a lot heavier, or it can come, the taste can come a lot later on, or it can be fairly light, or so it depends on those factors. But since I'm more of a generalist type of a guy, so you know, I just listened to it, and it was fun to listen to. I don't remember shit out of the details, but you know, in generality, that was it. But as he said, you know, so you can think that you're gonna get this, but in the end, chemical wise, you're gonna get something, and which is gonna dictate, and then you're gonna be left out when you're just guessing that, okay, maybe it was this year the bottling and this and that, but it's still the chemistry in the background actually, which you would have to measure in the laboratory to get, and then you're still gonna get a guess since everybody tastes and smells in the end differently. So
yeah. Actually, it looks like my Wi-Fi's decided to become unstable, so that's why I dropped out before. I'm going to say goodbye because it looks like my Wi-Fi has gone to pot. I just want to thank everybody for turning up and taking a punt on an expensive tasting set that Dramful put together. But to be honest, I don't know about you guys, I thought it was absolutely worth every penny. It was amazing, and that's not even with Jim's involvement. Thank you very much, everybody, for jumping in. I hope you had a great night, and I'm gonna have to leave because it looks like I'm going to be bouncing around. But thank you very much, and catch you later. Take care.
Thanks, Carl.
Make someone a host. Make someone a host.
I'm actually.
We're hosting
Jeremy,
it on the phone.
Yeah, I think Greg is.
I'm actually the host, but I have to run myself in a minute, so I'm happy to make someone else the host, and but I need to run. It's 2:07 here, and I've been up since 6, and I have yet to eat a bite of food. So, but I did have 6 whiskeys, so that's. Yeah.
Hey, that's enough food, isn't it?
If someone tells me who, I'll make you the host.
Jeremy usually sticks
I'll
around.
disappear as well, so
Yeah,
goodbye.
cheers, Mickey. Jeremy, are you sticking around?
Maybe Becca. I was up till 3 last night as well.
Rebecca, are you sticking around? Rebecca and Ollie, are you going to stick around? Is that all right if you're made host?
Yeah, sure, for a little bit, yeah.
Good.
All
say a
right,
little
just
bit.
till 2 a.m.
Yeah, I was going to say that Rebecca says a little bit. It'll be still 2 a.m. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Peter's not here still. Peter's not here. So
He's been a battle, yeah.
he's the bad influence. And yeah, don't lie, Jeremy.
Actually, I should just say
5 a.m. Every time.
I should just say, anybody who's not a part of NEWAS, the Facebook group, because I know that there might be the odd person who actually unbelievably is not part of the group.
I'm not.
You're welcome to join, and you know, from all over the world and everything. And we're a friendly bunch on the whole, especially if you feed us whiskey. Thank you very much for coming along. And just to let you know as well, in terms of future events, there will be potentially a vTasting with Galani very shortly, and one with those guys in Israel, which I'm really hoping to get organized in the very near future. And there's going to be some more, but I'm not going to bore you with the details right now. I'll be posting them.
Who are you setting up with Israel?
It'll hopefully be with Galani, so it'll be David.
Do you need any assistance with speaking to David?
I don't know, but I did consider reaching out to you, Barry, and maybe doing a joint Israeli NEWAS tasting again. So I might be back in touch with you.
If you just need help speaking to David, or if you want with Milk and Honey or any of the Israeli people, just give me a call.
Oh, definitely I will, because the last one we did together was brilliant. So I'll be definitely in touch. So yeah, thanks all. I'm really worried that I'm just going to get cut off again. So I'll take my leave and take care.
Thanks,
If,
Carl.
any,
Good night,
if anyone,
Carl.
if anyone else has any questions for me, please ask me quick because I'm going to I hate to have to run. This has actually been a lot of fun.
Hey, Greg, did you say you were in California?
I am, yes.
Have you had much Seven Stills whiskey?
That's like one of our favorite whiskey distilleries.
No, I have not. I've not.
Do it. It will change your life.
You should go to their tap house. They brew beer as well, but that is literally one of our favorite places. And we have to wait until we can actually fly again to the US before we can go and get it, because you can't buy it outside of the States.
I mean,
outside of California.
Their philosophy is one of taking lots of different types of beer. So they'll make a saison and then they'll make a whiskey out of that.
Or a sour, like fruit sour beer.
So there is some amazing flavors in there that honestly, if you like whiskey, I cannot recommend them enough.
Yeah, I know of it, but I've not had it. No, you threw me for a second because I'm from Pennsylvania on the other side of the country, but and there's a distillery there called 8 Oaks, and I have a couple of bottles of 8 Oaks, but I don't have any Seven Stills. No, but I absolutely know it and would love to try it. So I will do.
I think they've just moved or recently moved to a much larger place as well. So they've got a much bigger bar and lots more fun to be had.
They're in Northern California though, right? Yeah.
In San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like a 7-hour drive for me. So I've been there loads of times, but I haven't in the last year. But that's actually going to change in about 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, it's okay. Every time we go to San Francisco, we just literally we have a second suitcase and we just fill it with basically wine and whiskey from them to bring back.
We did a virtual event last night in San Francisco that was great. It was very small, but it's a whiskey club there called Wingtip, and it was really fun with Brooke Lottie.
I'm going to shoot as well, guys. It's been an amazing night and nice to meet you all. And yeah,
you
have a good evening and have a good day, Greg.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm also going to say goodbye. Good evening to you all. It was a pleasure. See you guys next time.
I'm going to go eat whatever I want to call it, late lunch, breakfast at 2 o'clock. But Rebecca, you're the host now. So when I leave, you guys are all more than welcome to chat.
Yeah, apparently.
Thank you all for joining us. If you haven't seen the film, please go watch the film. If you bought tickets to this, the movie's live, I think, through tomorrow. Alphonse can tell you, right? It's through tomorrow. The movie's still live, so you can watch it.
It is till midnight local time. Yeah.
And then, we're still doing loads of. Next week, we're doing an event like this with Adam Hannon and Brooke Lottie, and 2 weeks after that with Simon Coughlin and stuff. So we're still doing loads of events, and we'd love to have you join us. And like I've kind of teased in the chat a couple of times, we've got some other bottlings coming out, and including some stuff related to Bruce and Colin's releases. So there may be an Octomore, maybe. I don't know.
Thanks
Bye,
so much.
everybody. Thank you.
Yes, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.